Good viewer, you are watching Xirtus. This is because Xirtus makes you feel good, makes you feel fulfilled. You are enjoying this. You will continue to watch Xirtus for a long time to come. You want to subscribe to Xirtus, and you will. You will like and subscribe and share. You will tell your friends. Tell your friends about Xirtus. Your friends will come to like Xirtus, much as you are liking this right now, as we speak. Thank you for subscribing to Xirtus. See, that was easy.
Hey, everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians. Tartarian. Recent Tartarian.
Hey, everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.
I never watch your shows, so I forget how genius that intro is. I was like, I think I remember that lady is from a podcast and samples and all this stuff. It's just funny. And I was like, am I really watching a fucking loading screen? Really? A whole hog.
Yeah, it does. It kind of reminds me of Hackers. I know some people hate Hackers. Have you watched Hackers in a while?
I've never seen it.
Wow. Yeah. Have you ever been
World,
experienced?
I think is the idea. Right?
Have you ever been experienced? I have.
Jimmy
so
no.
So there's recently like Hackers, Linus Tech Tips, you know, he like blasted it. Yeah, because like he'd never seen Hackers before, and like of course, you know, it's the most important hacking movie.
I don't know how I feel about that guy, for the record.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I mean I have feelings about Linus Sebastian, right? Like what a cool name. Let's start with that feeling I have about that. I've interacted with him on several occasions. Once to tell him like, "Oh, you're talking about Trump again," which was like or was it Elon Musk? No, it was about Elon Musk, like because he was really hating on Elon Musk for a while. I was like, maybe talk about other things. So I feel like that he was receptive to that, and I don't know. I like a lot of what he's trying to do. Regardless, not important. He's pretty famous. He's talking about Hackers the other day, like literally just the other day, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Hackers is one of the greatest movies ever made. I mean, it's absolutely like it. But he talks about why he hates it. He's like, first off, Angelina Jolie. What movie is she in that's good? He hates. You know, let's look about Angelina.
I want to point out,
Jolie.
I pulled a card for this, and it looks like her a little.
Oh man, I already skipped the part I wanted to do. So that was the thing I was going to say. Like, first off, I said this is a Team Rabbit Hole style show, and how can it be without a number in the title? It should be like the Herbie the Love Bug with 53. Like, I need a number. Give me a number to start with, and then we're going to pull cards. Jim is here and Raph is here. How's it going?
It's the born on date of the assembly line or whatever. So whatever.
That's what you think. That's what you thought was going on. But in the future, when we look back at it, is that really what was happening? You know,
what was really happening is we were talking, and then it went live at some point, and here we are. So
you just happened to do it in chronological order when you were doing it, but it now exists, right? And that existence isn't necessary. Here, I'll pull some cards. Okay, I'm pulling a Jeremy Hernandez, a Mo Sanford, and a Chris Donnell. Okay, rookie card.
Mint.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Tell me.
Means shortstop, which apparently Julia's father was a shortstop, but he chose bread over baseball, which we talked about yesterday.
That's pretty wise, you know.
Yes, I don't know how that all panned out. Anyway, what do you want to talk about? You were talking about Hackers. I'm
gonna talk about Hackers. I have a rant about Hackers. I got a couple of rants, and then we'll talk about things you want to talk about. But
I just want to say my issue isn't really so much with Linus as such, because I've tuned into it. It takes all kinds. I'd love to see his chart. He's probably more Scorpio or Capricorn or Virgo heavy. He just seems like he's that way, very particular. He's a remnant of the French fur trading. That's how I look at him, or something.
That's
like
adorable.
There's this tenacity, but this like not huge size, so it's like a Napoleon thing going on.
Since you say that, I'm gonna go do this. Linus.
Is he? Or we're gonna do is like.
No. This is just something I did one time. Advanced.
Wow, that was a cat.
Search settings, no. Advanced settings, no. This is so much harder to use. Okay,
I envy your fluidity on tech. I guess you are an Aquarius moon.
What? Okay, well, it's not as easy as I thought it would be. So don't be too
find
impressed.
your interaction.
Yeah, well, it's not that interaction I'm looking for. Actually, I'm looking for something I created at one point.
Yeah.
So,
good luck. That's what I want to help you with, bitch.
There it is. Okay,
like,
look. So
of everything.
I found AI early on, and I typed in to make a picture of Muhammad, and it made this picture that looks so much like Linus.
It does. Enough. I mean, it's not like whatever.
This is early Bing.
Probably
no, this is early Dolly too. This is from the early stuff. So I don't know. It kind of blows my mind. Regardless. Anyway, Angelina Jolie. She's in like a lot of terrible movies.
Gemini.
What movies is she in that are good? Hackers.
Very few.
Hackers. Hackers is the answer to that. Hackers is an incredible movie. And Linus Sebastian goes as far even to say, he's like, gee. He says, like, in the movie, it doesn't make any sense. This is not how things work, but they're laughing about it. And he's like, either these people knew absolutely nothing about hackers, or they were taking the quote piss, like that they knew everything about hacking. And they're just not telling you.
So
and he's
totally aware.
And I think it's incredible because he literally taps onto it, but he just can't fathom it. And he's like, no way. That would be too crazy. But they even kind of have that conversation. Like, of course, they must have, because everything they say in that movie, they know everything about hacking. They made it into a complete metaphor they not only do they know everything about hacking, they also know everything about everybody, and they know what people don't know. And they know that if they talk about hacking too much, people won't understand it. They know their audience isn't. They know how to tell a story as much as they know about hacking. 1995.
Okay.
So it's like Ninja Turtles, or like they're racing through the motherboard, and there are they don't understand, like there really are. There were these niche BBS board community clubs. This is about New York City, right? So this is a specific hacker clubs. But if you compare it, that's the New York City equivalent to these homebrew Silicon Valley communities that did exist, which were slightly cooler than people give them credit. Now, most of the time they weren't on roller skates or anything like that, but people on roller skates existed. That was a cool idea that was emerging. People were like, wow, the entire world's paved, right? So it's a metaphor for like the new mode of travel. But the whole movie, they have like, give a rabbit a shot or something like that, because it's like a rabbit, and they have all these little kinds of fake codes, metaphors. Like, oh man, there's a worm in the Matrix. I don't know. It's like it's not real in certain ways.
I'll watch it just for you. At some point,
the most
it's
important
very pre-Matrix shit. Clearly,
yeah.
I mean, in post Timothy Leary VR kind of mode.
Oh, it absolutely, whatever. And it has Penn and Teller as as the security guards, and the dude from Short Circuit is like Mr. the Plague, right? So, in this movie, you've got can you find no? I'll type it back here. The bad guy.
Oh, yeah. There's Alan Abadessa, green.
Yeah, and look right next to him. There's freaking Penn Gillette right there. As the dude, he's like, all right, Mr. the Plague, we have a hacker inside of the network looking for the garbage file. Oh no!
Just Cordian magic going on in the early '90s is absurd. It's like Tim and Eric, but like everybody was making full-blown productions like this, or Mario Brothers the movie, or whatever. It's like there was a pocket where Waterworld, like weird shit was going on, and it wasn't panning out, but it was still necessary.
I feel like it was panning out. I love this. I think this is the
Waterworld.
height of film. Really, is when they were able to do this, and so. With hackers, they're hacking the school pool so that it rains through the roof, and they're turning on the lights in the building, so they're controlling infrastructure. These are all things that have emerged later, right? Like if you look in now, like hacker takes over sign, you'll hear about like scrambled like no, that's not the right one, but like.
So is the movie
highway.
A meme? That's what the guy Linus was tripping on. He's like, it's either a meme or it's a meme that preceded the genre.
It's a precedent meme, and so it's instigating. And like you said, hack the planet.
I've heard that.
Hack the planet, because that's really what it's saying. It's anything can be hacked. You can hack a flower, you can hack a whistle, you can hack a box of cereal. Like you don't understand. You can hack a piece of paper into a plane, hack the freaking planet. It's so important. And
if we didn't have hackers, we might not have Inception, is what you're saying?
If we didn't have hackers, so hacking is part of transhumanism. It's a bigger deal. Like if you didn't have hackers, you wouldn't have tools. If you didn't have hackers, you wouldn't have a hammer. You wouldn't have anything. And yeah, I think that
fallen angels.
No, just to be able to change anything at all, like to modify, to turn a piece of paper into a paper airplane, is a hack. That's a crazy amount of power that humanity has. So you have to hack the planet. You have to like to divert water to change things, hack the planet. That's I think what it's really all about. And you'll see that the whole world at this point is run by hackers who are going to destroy the world. Like they're going to because they've got
Contemporarily speaking.
in this movie,
Okay.
there's boats that are run without pilots because they're run on Unix systems. This is all true, by the way. If you look into like this SEO Unix, the reason why it's really difficult to upgrade the Navy boats is because they run on these really old Unix architecture systems designed in Santa Cruz called Santa Cruz Operations Unix. And this is what McDonald's used to use until they recently upgraded their entire Unix system to, I think, a BSD system. Although it might still be on an SEO, it depends because SEO is so heavily upgraded and so defensive because
You
it's
need
so
a morphine drip, dude. It's like how do you process this much? You're gonna burn it all out.
This is like I have a friend of mine I know actually his job still and he's like 80 is to continually backport new tech into SEO Unix because there's so much open source new technology, but like trying to keep this stuff working because it's too expensive to imagine
fully
upgrading a new boat like to a boat, right? Like it's old systems, so you keep that system working.
So hacking is equivalent to patching now.
Yeah, so in the show, like you've got boats that like are techno-Gaianist, like they just automatically follow the currents. They're bringing the packages like back and forth on like this path, and they can easily be capsized if the system is broken. Right, that's what's going on essentially.
Have you ever seen Sword Art Online? I mean, you see so much damn shit that I think we're like ships in the night with a lot of the culture, but we could cross pollinate, so it's fun. Anyway,
Somehow I miss some of the anime, even though I have seen Sword Art Online. Like I've seen some of it. You know,
I haven't fucked with Japan culture in a minute because I'm into Warhammer 40K now. But
Right.
when I was doing Japanese during COVID, after Australia, when I thought I was
Dude,
gonna
you should be
going
careful doing so much Japanese, bro. Like make sure you always have a friend present.
Right. It's an interesting concept. Basically, it's a bunch of people who put on VR. Terrorists has hacked the system, ironically, and it's like you can't leave this or else you'll die in the real world. You have to like progress in the game, really, and if you beat me, you live. So it's whole lot of things, but they have, I guess the servers or something's on like floating devices. I mean, I guess the only reason I'm asking if you saw it was because you were saying that there were ships being delegated by Linux and stuff, and I'm just like, I think I just saw like a video or a clip somewhere where it's like AI can basically be put onto a flotilla that's self-cooling and all this shit. Do you know what I'm talking about at all, or is this just sounding totally Greek?
No, I think I recall. Like basically,
Don't worry about Sword Art Online. It just had it's like the Matrix for kids, like and sword play or whatever.
I mean, I wish I could find the scene from Hacker. There's a scene from Hackers, right?
What's up with his outfit? It looks
we'll
like
get
your
there.
goddamn
I know, right?
like your your code.
Yeah, that's a pseudo Dionysius of Arapagadite, Gesundheit. In Hackers, I just wanted to say this because like it's on my mind. Like in Hackers,
As far as
there's a
Butch
scene.
haircuts go, that's actually a cute haircut on her.
Yeah, no, honestly, it's the best Angelina Jolie
You're
movie
gonna
she
do
ever
a
made.
fairy.
Yeah.
What's the movie called? Rosemary's Baby. Look, it's like a thick pixie haircut. or whatever.
Fundamentally a perfect movie in just so many ways. But anyway, like the point is, at some point there's a scene which I remember as a kid thinking, this is almost gibberish. I was like 6 to 10, I forget, like, but I remember seeing this one scene where they're talking about technology, and just thinking like, this is not
It's just
correct.
jargon?
It's like they're saying like the Pentium 6 or something like that, and referring to like, you know, RISC architecture being super powerful. And I was just like, RISC architecture, that's like what's inside of your watch, you know. Now let's skip to like today. Like RISC is now the most powerful
Now it's in your
architecture.
Apple Air.
Every-
what is called AirPod,
Everything is RISC
laptop.
is reduced instruction set computers. Everything that they say in that scene, that pseudo jargon scene, is literally contemporaneously true today. And people used to think it was like complete gibberish and jargon. And so I think that's kind of like one of the
Finnegan's
interesting.
Wake does.
It's
they
like
just
they knew
got
exactly
double.
what was going to happen, but they
Made
were
it sound.
20 years ahead of the time. And so people were like, there's no way. It has to be right now. It's like it has to be the IBM PowerPC processor, and they're like, no, it's going to be servers connected to RISC chips that are able to do exactly what they need to do in order to interact with servers that only have to do exactly what they need to do to reduce the load in TCP packets. And they're like, well, how do you know that?
I bet those producers and directors were hanging out with Terrence McKenna and people like that. I feel like that was the scene.
Yeah, like I mean, that's the thing. If you're making a movie, you get to meet anybody who's gonna like, because they're like you're in Hollywood. They're so interested to talk to you, so they're just telling them all about their technology, probably. And they're like, "Don't worry, I won't put anything to. Oh, it doesn't matter. We're talking about stuff that's 20 years ahead of the time, and you won't be able to understand the exact lingo." Like, so they know exactly, I think, what's going on, and you'll notice this. I've seen so many movies where you're like, how do they know just everything about
So predictive.
the subcultures? But the movie still sucks. Because they still edit it and they still make it into a thing that's not really for any of those groups. You know, a lot of the time they're making it for the broader audience, and the broader audience doesn't care about, especially 1995. The audience didn't care about computers. The audience cared about roller skating, explosions, right, and like electric bikes and Tron-looking things, and you know, like the things they knew were selling, right? That's why
Game
they did
Boys were
that.
big. Video games were a thing. So the internet was like the new video game, and they were kind of looking like, do you want to be Bart Simpson on the internet? Rock it out. This is how you do it, or
So
whatever.
that actually is like a major point to the hackers scene video game. There's a scene in the in the game where they go to like a roller rink place, and in there they have a giant projector, and the projector is shown to play this game, and the game that they're playing actually came out like 4 years later, and it's Hydro Thunder for Sega Dreamcast. And so this was a prototypical game that they were thinking eventually people were going to sell, but it was also too powerful to run on local MAME, so it had to be something that eventually was going to be made into like something that was, you know,
Home device.
yeah, or a more powerful system like a few years later.
Yeah.
But you know, it's also inferred in the game kind of that.
Is that a black cube above them?
Yeah, and he's standing. I wish I could get better scenes of them just like standing, because
It's all good. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm like, there's a whole lot of. I mean, it's the whole. What's that video game that's 2049 thing that's out now? Or is it 2049? It's like cyberpunk. I haven't played it.
Cyberpunk 2049, yeah, something like that. 2079,
2077.
2077. Okay.
It's like 49 seems too soon.
No, 49 is for the other movie. That's Blade Runner 49.
There you go. Or it's Kurzweil's
Yeah.
Wet Dream, like popping off then. Speaking of which,
In the video game, though, eventually, like, we realize that they're so good at playing the game that means they're good hackers. And so what they're trying to say with that is, like, okay, it's really, like, these kids' generation, you know, like, the fact that they're newer and that they're born in the technology.
digital.
Yeah, they're, like, digital kids. And so they're, you know, I think that's lost on some people because they think, oh, well, like, why would a hacker be good at a video game? Like, what does a video game have to do with hacking or something like that? But probably in like the 80s to the 90s, like a shift happened where your brain is developing for computers more, you know, and if you're raised in it, like you think differently and are more responsive. Because before that you were worried if you like cut something in real life that it would be done, right? But
Like
digital
tape loops and stuff?
yeah, well, digital people all of a sudden, yeah, tape loops.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
really affected a lot of people's psychology. You know, in general, if you cut something, it's broken. But if then else, undo button everything for the rest of your whole beginning of life, it changes how you think about consequences. So you have new, quicker responses, willing to make mistakes in ways that someone's a little bit like they've got a built-in trigger not to make that without thinking about it.
That's
There's
probably
a
a great
hole in
point,
the
because I
bucket.
was always wondering how, especially, yeah, just like you said, people of a different generation or quote unquote older generation, they get set in front of any type of interface software. It can be a simple app or whatever, and they're just confused. They don't know what's going on. And also usually they're afraid to press any button, just like you said. And I remember, way back when I was like learning something, maybe even, way back when I didn't even understand the English language for the menu screen, You just click everything, and eventually you figure out what it does. Yeah, but that's definitely a different approach than if you were only used to deal with real life consequences, where you may accidentally kill your cow or something, where you wouldn't play around with that, right?
Yeah.
So
Or like, yeah, you're cutting film for sure. Like it's like artists, especially like if you're creative a lot, like a creative person has to be very careful with the pair of scissors, I feel like. And so if you're spending your whole life as that kind of a creative person, you're measuring, you're doing drafting or rulers and things like that to go to these are the kinds of people that become computer engineers. So it's just a really different experience to be able to make mistakes. If you're that kind of person, you're even less likely, right? Dude, that
What was
guy
that?
though.
I thought I just heard a drum loop.
That's my it's a text message probably or a notification.
All right. It sounded like I was gonna say, like I was gonna hear wedding bells in that '80s song.
Darth Call is now in the in some sort of a he's doing a thing. This is Darth Call's great. You should know. Pseudo Dionysius, the Arapagite. Yeah, Arapagite. Do you right?
Arapagite. You got it.
Yeah. Pseudo Dionysius, the Arapagite. Super cool dude. Had this really cool jacket, like you were looking at earlier, that you thought was super fly. Several people noticed it. Clearly, like it became kind of a fashion statement.
It's a QR code.
Dude, it's pretty based, right? Yeah, I felt like it was hard not to notice that.
I like his the aesthetic of his face and hair. I mean, the clothes is fine. That's so loud and ratchet and just like atypical for the genre. But up top is very. That could be a font or something. It's so together. Shit. I was gonna say something earlier, but you were both riffing, and I forgot what it is now. I guess. Oh, well, we were talking about the digital to analog kind of switch where. I just saw in my memories or whatever, maybe a couple years ago, a meme. I forget what the quote I put was, but it was basically like, when your grandparents figure out how to use the HDMI cord or something like that, you're like, it's from Jurassic Park. It's like, God damn it, you did it, you genius, or whatever the scene is from the movie, and it's so scary because it's almost how would I put it? It's almost techno oligarchianism or something like that, where it's like. We just don't see certain people at the certain speeds. They're human beings in the image of God. Like they begat us. We're only here because of them, and we're it's a lot like actually Children of Man, if you've seen that movie, where the kid is just sitting there ripping on some like 8D Tetris thing and not even a part of the conversation. It's so weird what technology is doing to us, and yet it's unavoidable. All that stuff.
What's up,
anyway,
VDC? What's up, VDC?
You want to shout out your peeps?
Well, people pushing the members only and becoming members.
There's
like
obligations. There's dotted lines. Cool. God damn it! The attention needs to be given. Moon card. You guys are mooning the world. So pull a card, like a real card. The moon card's about facing your fears, though, and just whatever, all this kind of stuff. I'm in a weird headspace. When we were in the green room, I was trying to get into the brass and tacks because you're goddamn creative. Everybody knows that who's watching this, obviously. And I feel like I don't even know. I don't know how to explain it.
Do you want to show the moon card? Wait, pull up the moon. Is that your?
It doesn't matter. It's whatever. That's some Winona Ryder fucking hackers looking shit. What? We don't have to talk about it particularly, but what is the moon card?
Well, what's the moon card?
It is the unconscious, right? And in a way, that's kind of what I was trying to talk about in the thing, where it's like, okay, the moon is I perceive the truth through the inner veil and its reflection. The dark reflects and distorts. Facing your fears, embracing uncertainty, and paying attention to what your dreams say. And that's kind of one of my bigger hangups where I'm like, dude, back in 2020, well, like I was saying in the green room, when you and Raphael weren't really acquainted yet, you were like, let's go to Japan and make a zombie film. Like, that's the kind of energy that I was feeling. It's not so possible now and stuff, but like, there's creative things to do. And I guess doing this kind of stuff is creative. We can still
do that. I was just literally talking to our buddy in Japan, like, I think yesterday or the day before yesterday about that. He was like, oh man, remember when we were going to do that? We're going to make a movie about how like a virus shut down the world and then the world shut down. So yeah, we should probably still do that.
Because you're scrying on the collective unconscious and maybe predicting things. No,
but now it's already happened, so it's time to make the movie.
It's passe, or just at least make it like a 10-minute little, whatever. That wasn't the main point. The main point, I guess, I was getting at is we got to hang out in IRL. Like, this is cool. I don't mind this. TeamRabbitHole, all this kind of stuff is like digital kind of communalism. But then there's other things to do too, so that things can expand. You've been doing great. So, and I don't even pay attention to what you're up to. Horribly, I know. I'm a bad friend. But we're not really even IRL friends yet, Brad.
We
haven't
were
met.
gonna
You
talk
guys have
about
met.
Phil Lawler. That was a thing because you
Oh,
like
you like
we both.
Swerve?
One thing we both no, but we both because the only thing we both had in common was that you grew up liking Adventures in Odyssey.
Liking is an understatement. On
yeah.
like 8-hour road trips, my mom would be like, "Shut up in the back of the car," and I just lay down and disassociate to fucking Connie and Eugene and everything.
Dude,
that shit was
yeah.
ratchet.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to that like for every day for years, and so
Seasons.
I did that interview with Phil Lawler, and it's been a
He
few
looks
years.
like he was a part of that. Okay.
Doesn't he? And he does as he gets older look more and more like John Henry Whitaker, the main
Yes.
old man character
He just
from
channeled
the show.
himself.
But he's written some books since like we did the interview, and we've talked a bunch because like we're friends on Facebook for years before this interview because I've always been a huge fan of the show. But Phil Lawler
Is he a
book.
podcaster? Or I guess he's fucking
No.
in broadcasting.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
how
in
does he have that mic?
He's in broadcasting, of
Okay,
course.
I get it now.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a real situation here. I'm holding my mic. Even Lawler's got a fucking stand.
He wrote a book I recommend. I've recommended a couple of times, Young Wit and the Trader's Treasure, and he's done a couple of these kind of like stories of like how he meets the Blackguard, Louis Blackguard, the bad guy who, because like John Henry Whitaker's a freaking CIA hacker who is retired to have an ice cream shop with a Matrix simulator that he's built that's secretly in the building, and the big part of the show is corporations trying to steal his VR tech. And it's been that way since the 80s.
I think
That's
I
what
missed
this
that
is
plot
about.
line.
That's freaking what it's about, bro. Like, think about it, because he goes.
The
I don't know.
Imagination Station. Yeah.
Imagination Station is literally this thing that he's invented.
Artist.
And he's got applesauce is this password, that is protected that Eugene has to keep from Connie, like the applesauce, because applesauce password has to do with Adam and Eve, and it's the secret password. And Connie gets into the thing, but then it's being used for all sorts of weird things, like Eugene experiences death, and he sees what it would be. Everyone experiences death, and they're all Christian, and they see how great it would be, except for Eugene, because he's not a Christian yet. So he just sees like infinite nothingness in the most like
Tesseract void.
the most nihilist sense. And you're like, oh wow, like whoever wrote this understood things way better. It wasn't like Mormon spooky hell, like with like crazy like pitchforks. It was like real absolute like disconnect from everythingness and from Christ consciousness and the new sphere. So really deep, I think. And then you find out like there's the search for John Avery Whitaker, right? Because then his son Jason.
I remember this. He went disappearing, and
Jason, remember how I do is nothing great.
I swear to God.
Yeah. Literally,
They
we're
were
programmed.
fucking our minds so hard, bro.
So programmed by this Focus on the Family Christian radio show, dude. Really.
That we don't have a family to focus on.
Yeah, like what's up? But so then
It
Jason.
sterilized us.
Jason is the son of this guy who's got the ice cream shop, and he goes looking for him and finds that he's missing because he's found the Qumran document, which will like disturb Egypt, Israel, Christianity, Jewish, Islam, every religion in the world would be disturbed by finding the Qumran document. So you have all these people trying to kill this guy, and he's got all these people working with him in the State Department and all these different things, and he's been a spy over the years. You've known that.
Mission Impossible level shit.
And
that little
Jason's a
series
spy, because you know that Jason's a spy, and his girlfriend Natasha that he was going to marry, who was an atheist, was a spy. So they're both spies in the State Department. So the whole show is about freaking spies that live in a small town USA, and they run this little ice cream shop, and they're just trying to help the community out, right? That's
Now
what
that
it's
you say
about.
it like that, this just shows how retarded I can be. I was just like, I would listen to it and just love the theme song, see what they're doing.
It's a
You know,
great theme song.
Yeah, all of it.
Do you know that the lady who's the narrator did the Barbie commercials? Hi, this is Chris. Welcome to Adventures in Odyssey. That lady, I know I did it more like Mickey Mouse, but she's
did?
yeah, but she was the voice of like the Barbie commercials in the 80s. So it was like they knew like we need something that's gonna hook kids, and all
Did you
those
watch McGee
voices.
and Me?
McGee and Me also is a great show. I do love
Garbage
McGee.
in, garbage out,
That was
man.
a bit more. There was a great show that was about like Christian kids that had their own private radio station, and they tapped into like thieves they thought were aliens, and they had like an underground base. I forget. There's a bunch of these weird Christian shows that existed in the 80s and then early 90s. But yeah, Adventures in Odyssey was weird because definitely was about secret agents and I
That
feel
was
like
so
that
much
was
more
the play.
stress than I remember, and I'm almost like I don't have the time or energy to go re-listen to all that shit because I just fuck that. But I got too much Warhammer 40K to read.
Yeah, dude. But yeah, I mean,
Priorities.
it is interesting because like there's something being revealed. I feel like in Adventures in Odyssey because like they picked an audience they feel like it's safe to reveal it to. And I think they do that a lot. Like they're like, oh, sweet, we have like a limited demographic. That's great. We know
So like the
this is.
cousins of the producers of Hackers went to Colorado Springs, and they're like, you know what? I still go to church. Technically, I need a job. And they're like, okay, here you go.
Yeah,
So
I like it. I think it's a little like the same thing with like VeggieTales, right? VeggieTales had like a weird producer named Mr. X. It was like an anonymous producer who came in and gave him a bunch of money.
how have we not geeked out about like Christian fundamentalist entertainment of the '90s yet?
I mean, I've
I
always
didn't realize
wondered
we were
about
into
like
it.
especially like Christian music, right? Because Christian music was secularly produced, and so you have to wonder like how these certain bands rose to the top. And have you ever remember Skillet? Best kept secret of my generation.
No,
Oh, dude.
was
So
it
when I
like a
was
punk band or
It
something like
was
that.
yeah, it was a
If
Christian
it was
band.
ska.
It was a Christian band that was kind of like the Matrix. It was like you're the best kept secret of my generation, and I wear
Like
latex.
it
And
can't be too tight, or else it's really S and M's.
dude,
Yeah, this is totally
this is a
uh,
Christian band from Tennessee. And I think they've
Garth Brooks' alter ego.
yeah, and they've changed a lot.
Christian.
Like I think they're more mainstream now. I don't know, but then there was this one song they did. I remember when I woke up September 11th, 2001 in the morning.
They
and
look like they're fucking in the movies Hackers.
yeah, and I
Like
was
the
a big
color
fan.
scheme, the hair, everything.
That was the way we all want. I wanted to be that way. I loved hackers. So I woke up. It was like it's been confirmed that the aliens have landed. I was like, what? And then it was this video, and it was like,
The
look in the
Pisces
background. This got the Pisces and the Ohm symbol behind him on this tower.
This is Christian.
This is Christian, and then you got
they're
his
saying-
eye. Look at his
Yeah.
eye in one of the videos, and his mouth. He's got his mouth and his eye in a different screen, and it's saying.
Deconstructionism.
And it's saying he's wearing an army shirt because everything was all about the army. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, and it's like it's get confirmed that the aliens have taken over. The aliens have landed, and then he's like, "Come on, freaks, let's go! Like we're taking over the world with the alien youth. We're taking over the world. We're not gonna leave. We're taking the alien youth. We're taking the alien youth. We're the alien youth. We're taking." Over the world with the alien youth. We're the alien youth. I mean, it's just like,
I
bruh,
don't see how in any way that's Christ centered.
bruh, right? Yeah, it was just like, what even happened? So
They went to a
powerful.
rave one weekend and they had this song and this idea. They expressed it. They made it happen.
Maybe, or it's just because like at the same time you had POD and you had all these bands that were
later.
just
That was
they
like
were
99.
well.
Whatever you
This
just
was
showed me was,
2000.
like, mid-
No, that was 2001. That came out.
Ugh.
That came out right around. Yeah, it was like
That's rough.
post Matrix.
They're trying to keep up.
Yeah,
Because
they were,
POD was like
but-
99, 2000. Yeah.
True, but they were like the point is they had all of these vibes about the apocalypse, about the alien youth, about like a new kind of weird like tech. Yeah, Christianity was not Christianity exactly. It seemed like it was something else that they were trying to create, which is interesting. But like secularism trying to take over.
That's why my Nana won't let me pull tarot cards in the house. Same shit like that. Like it's just a door. Pisces symbol. Next thing you know, you'll be a witch.
Raph did not grow up listening to Midwestern American
Not
secular
to
Christian
Skillet,
music.
no.
Yeah.
No.
And I was like, if this is the Christianity you got, well, I mean, I don't know if I have to comment further.
Bro, what does that mean? No, you do need to comment.
is gonna
further.
hate.
Actually, that is interesting.
No,
so
the
you
thing
didn't
is
have a Protestant punk rock Christianity and skateboarding.
DC Talk was my first concert. That shit was
Yeah.
real.
What would
Supernatural's a
Jesus
great
do
album.
if they found?
Well, I want to say
think
maybe
was
that
Jesus freak?
exists, but I just find it very strangely typical because that's why the Vatican is also always hosting this interreligious dialogue,
Yeah.
Keep it hip.
Wonder why, everyone can think for themselves whether it's because they really are different factions that need to, have peace talks, or whether they're just meeting because they already are all of the same faction. So I'm just wondering, at least organized religion, of course, why would they have an Om symbol in a Christian fundamentalist propaganda
My
movie.
theory.
I mean,
You
what is
tell me
that?
if I'm wrong or right. Is it like the Babylon horror city, and they're like, we're taking over that? I mean, is that the kind of idea?
So
Like
what
the
I'd like
world?
it
Oh,
to be
really?
is
So
it's
that's
a
the
really
bad thing they want to fight?
I'm with Raph on this. I think he's on the other side. It's not that. They're saying that this is the
Jesus is a
one
Pisces.
true God is oneness, and they're saying that
Right.
before
It's
the
the
flood,
Om and it's the Shiva statue at CERN, basically.
yeah. And Pisces, it's the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. And then they're saying that the fish, right? The symbol for the fish, so using an astrology symbol and they're using a Hindu symbol because they're saying, look, we're so sure that this is universal truth that you can find it even here and you can find it even there. But at a certain point, it's going to fold back into the one truth if you're trying to go the one direction. So they're trying to so I think it's actually like a positive thing to an extent, but you'll notice there's no cross, which I think is
Right.
very interesting.
Yeah,
Right?
I was like, I would never have known that's a Christian music video.
People were doing that more and more. They were saying like, what if we made positive alternative? There was all these kinds of
Let's
new.
smoke weed and watch Fight Club and make a rock album, guys.
I think that I don't know. A lot of these bands that were like Christian bands that were like, we can't sell like in such a large. We could be in the bigger section, the bigger bin. If our CD doesn't say Christ on it, but we can still sing about that and like try to lead people into that vibration or something. I feel like that's what they were trying to do, which is again like what Jim was just talking about is like DC Talk was the opposite. They were like, what if people found out I was a Jesus freak?
Well, that's the Jesus freak album. Supernatural is a lot like that.
Dude, this video is freaking nuts. Like it looks like a World War II propaganda video, like if you think about it, and then cut with dudes in prison, back and forth. They're like projecting this like crazy war propaganda while he's singing about how he's a Jesus freak. I mean, it's
they're
just
talking about like martyrdom and like
Oh, yeah.
extreme stuff.
totally. They're like, I'm ready to like. If you put him on the cross, you better put me up next. I get it. I felt it. I got it. But look at this German. Like this was nuts. This was out of control that they did this. I don't
It's
know.
like a Tool music video.
Yeah, they were pretty hardcore about their whole like, I want to die for Jesus. I think, and that was a different vibe. I think that was existing, and they were worried about it because in the Midwest, Baptists and Pentecostals, that there was an angry Christian vibe that emerged. We still have it. You still see it, like Westboro Baptist and
These things gotta play out, man. Westboro Baptist.
God
You see the
hates
documentary
flags.
about the unclean raven.
Where they make money off. Yeah, I learned about how how they do it. Like they make money off people like suing people back. A lot of them are lawyers, so they like sue people that like attack them.
So they punch, and then when you defend yourself, they're like, "You punched me, I'm suing you."
Yeah, they don't necessarily punch though. I think they
No,
get a way
metaphor.
of doing. They have a way. Yeah, they have a way of attacking that's legal.
So
Standing
maybe
outside
something not exactly flattering, but I'm wondering to what extent I mean, aside from the fact that, at least according to Douglas Dietrich, at least in the 70s or with Aquino, the actual religion of the military was Aquino's religion. But to what extent, because I believe I even once read a book about it, to what degree evangelical Christianity, however you would call it, is associated to getting people to sign up for wars. Because I guess that's where it gets really interesting, no? Because you said the one guy had the army shirt, and at least there are books by, I don't know, liberal professors or something that are saying like, oh, they combine this apocalyptic something with people wanting to go to Iraq or something along those lines.
Yeah,
I don't
Youth
know.
of the Nation music video from POD, I believe, also did that, didn't it?
I
Did
don't
it
know.
have the army shirt? I think. Let me see. Is it not this one? Yeah, there it is. U.S. Army. See, he's got the U.S. Army shirt. Every video, I felt like at that time, Army was people were in camo. You'll notice it in early 2001 is just like crazy amounts of
Post
military.
9/11, possibly.
Is it? No, this was I think this is right before 9/11 is the point.
I mean,
A
how
lot-
realistic is it that this is not just pure sponsored product placement?
It
yeah,
probably
it-
is.
It is.
But
it
also
is.
the culture itself, like who's going to be the people pro militarism generally is going to be right leaning conservatives or whatever like that.
It
just
was
is what it is.
everybody, man. Like it was all the commercials. It was a very in America. Could you see anything that was against the war at all? Like I don't remember, except for like a few actors that spoke out, and even then, it was actors that were for it back then. You had
Ron
like,
Paul, I feel was, and I thought he was a dick at the time. I was like, "Shut the fuck
in
up!" Ron Paul."
2001. You remember hearing Ron Paul in 2001? That's cool. I mean, I vaguely remember, but yeah, for the most part, 2001 was filled with media that was promoting
freedom fries.
Freedom.
And maybe-
the first thing I remember was like when September 11th happened, and I heard they said why, and then George Bush said, well, because they hate us for our freedom. And then like, let's cut to a commercial break, and the commercial was this belly button that was opening its mouth and singing in the middle of a pair of pants in halter top and walking down the street, and the belly button's like, I'm coming out, I want the world to know. And yeah, you remember that, and that was when I knew. I was like, this is how they're going to angle it. They're going to angle it that they hate us for our freedom because we have halter tops and cute belly buttons, and that we're just happy and singing all the time. And we're going to make it, and that literally became the angle, was that they hate us for our freedom, right? Like right over that belly button. No? You don't think so?
So-
I do.
No, I hear you. Yeah, I was like, Julia would like that commercial probably. She's all about like halter top kind of.
I've seen worse commercials. Like 10 years earlier, there's that British
the
commercial
product?
with the. What was the product?
It was like jeans.
Was it jeans?
It had to be low riding jeans. that were, like, coming
2001 commercial singing
out.
belly
Yeah.
button.
back.
Let's find
He's
out
a hacker,
right now.
guys. Listen to his keywords.
Levi's. Yeah, there.
Yep, Levi's.
I'm coming out, Levi's. And then it's a little black boy, and they're like, see, because they hate you for your freedom. That's what it is. I felt like it was a brilliant commercial, downwards pointed stars, everything else, and it just came out right when they needed it. It's just McDonald's colors. I don't know. It's just all there, right? Real quick. It just like was all about that.
It was a strange time.
But Raph, your church didn't have skateboard ramps.
I rarely ever saw a church from inside, and the one time I did, because I went with the Boy Scouts, where I went for a few years, and sometimes I guess they also go to the church for some reason or something. They are somehow religious. And I was there, and the guy was like, oh, you know, whatever, praying, blessing, or whatever, and then giving people this, how do you call it in English? This thing they give you?
Eucharist?
Yeah, it was like this small piece of
Communion?
of bread or something. They don't give you
Eucharist?
bread, but there's a proper
Communion.
name for it, what it actually is. It's like a
Eucharist?
piece of paper
The
or
body
something,
of
which you're supposed to eat, no?
The communion wafer?
It's a wafer, right? It's like a wafer made of, I don't know what it's made of, probably
The body
plastic or
of
something.
Christ,
Yeah,
Raph?
Right. So they hand that out, and then of course they kind of knew that I didn't get baptized or anything. So then it was like, oh, you don't get it, and I had to stand it to the side or something like this. So that was my one
Culty.
experience of actually being inside a church ceremony.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, a lot of
yeah.
churches will let you do it anyway. Catholic Church, they really don't want you to. If you know how to do it, like I
Called
think
fencing the table.
you gotta learn how to be like a Mason at sight or a Catholic at sight. I think if you know what all the moves are and you haven't really stood out, like what's the big deal, right? I think that's as long as you can do all the rituals. I think they let you do all the rituals. But if you,
I would take that shit so seriously that when I wasn't in the right heart space, I would be like, even though I'm a Christian, I'm not going to do this right now. So
that
it's
happened with
Well,
Seamus one
as
time.
much as I understand about it right now, I'm not exactly sad that I didn't participate in that ritual, I have to say. So
Yeah.
It's,
Well, we
it is
should.
an Atlantean ritual, right?
I don't know. I think it's
Yeah.
it depends on what you think. Like, I think because of how weird it is, it's in a weird inversion. Like, so we should think about how weird Eucharist is, because Eucharist isn't supposed to be, as far as I can tell, this 200 year after Jesus Pauline sacrifice thing, where you're eating him to like be atoned by human sacrifice. But the idea that he did eat with his followers and his friends right before he died as his last thing he did before this like crazy assassination prison martyrdom, that seems important, right? Like people that spent time eating with each other and sharing with each other and what that means, like that seems like it's probably important.
Every culture has its binding rituals.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. I mean,
And an eating together ritual.
wait, but does that
so
mean like
unifi-
every time I go to church this way, I'm like preparing all my friends to the next day be hung up on the cross? No, I know you don't, because Jesus already died on the cross for your sins.
But the Eucharist thing seems like a different thing. Like I think a church should have donuts. I'm all right with that. I think a church should have food that it offers people. It doesn't necessarily have to be
Well, here the
communion
Krishnas
wafers.
certainly have a smarter way to just give, somewhat decent,
Like,
healthy vegan food.
That's in fact, I think, something I have a story. One time I was at a Catholic church, and I've been to a bunch of them, right? And my mom likes to go to Catholic church, and they do the communion wafer thing, and it is what it is. But after every church, you have the donuts that people go after the church, and they sit and they eat together, and they have coffee, and they're eating donuts. And that's the secret real Eucharist. Like, the thing that they're doing in the church is just this kind of phony baloney, because it's not real. Sorry. It's not really what Christ did. And he didn't speak Latin, and he wasn't in a big building, and it's just, so you know. But the thing outside, with this long table, and they've got a bunch of baked sugary goods, right? Have you ever seen like Jewish bread when they it's like a donut, like it's more like wrapped around and stuff, but it's like softer bread anyway. And yeah, people are talking and they're interacting and they're doing everything. So there is still the thing, because it's natural. The natural thing still exists, and it has to exist. But people don't ever value that. They don't understand how important it is.
Yeah,
It's a
agreed.
trip. Yeah, I mean,
It's just funny how far, because at least, with some, I don't know the details, which denomination, but some gospel churches or whatever, at least they're having fun in the church, or something. But with certain variants of Catholicism or something, I'm like, this is like the most boring and, I don't know, almost
It depends.
scary
Sometimes
thing.
it's not supposed to be fun because it's supposed to be a ritual, and other times it's not supposed to be a ritual, it's supposed to be fun. So I feel like the Catholic Church trying to do both is a bad idea, but like they should pick which rituals they're gonna do. Like, it's cool if you're gonna be a ritual organization. Like, I'm not saying they have to do. When I was a kid, I used to think, oh, it's boring. Well, okay, no, then there are churches for that. There are kids' churches with VeggieTales and skateboarding.
got
and-
rock videos with Pisces symbols.
Yeah, we got
It's
all
fun,
of that.
guys.
It
It's
exists
fun.
now. So I'm not saying that the Catholic Church should become that. The Catholic Church should go back, but it should go back further, I think. It shouldn't necessarily be doing, like, its obsession with Latin is weird.
If it
should
goes
go
back far enough, what has to happen.
It should go back a little. It should go back 2 weeks before the crucifixion of Jesus, and it should just
Isn't
try
there
to
an
stick
Adventures
to
of
that.
Something
Odyssey
along
episode
those
about
lines.
that? I'm
I
sure
think-
there is.
I think that, but it should try to be like what happened in Christ's life, not 200 years after Christ's life. All these people, even after Christ's life, right away, like 34, you've got an axe on. I don't think it's really the right thing to emulate that over what Christ actually did. So they still have work to do to get back to that. But right now they're trying to emulate kind of mythological Roman rituals that are about Christianity from Neoplatonic Greeks, from that dude we were just looking at, Pseudo Dionysius of Areopagite, because, he was all about that. And I think that's kind of why we're in that circumstance where, people are like, well, should we become completely new, or should we become like we were halfway? Like, because they don't really know what exists because like you said, the word martyr, like martyr means witness. It doesn't mean murdered person. We just use it that way because all of the witnesses to Jesus were murdered, right? Like, why? Why were they all murdered? So that witnesses,
Interesting.
Yeah, they don't want people to know how Jesus lived, and they want people to focus on the last few pages where he died. Because if you emulate something, you emulate death, like they can control that.
I've been talking to my nana. I mean, I'm fairly agnostic at this point, so I'm just like not even going to defend anything. Jim Henson had a little quote in Rainbow Connection, because he was definitely like a New Ager type more.
And in the Tavistock at MI6, right?
Was he? Wouldn't surprise me.
For an American from Mississippi. An American from Mississippi who was in the British intelligence, yeah.
That's what's up. But yeah, somebody said something, somebody believed it. Look where that's gotten us so far. In a sense, there's no escaping culture, and then we just bash each other with our preferences and then ridicule the things we don't understand personally. But I think in some strange way, there has to be a level of compassion given to the apes running around this spinning rock, just shouting stories at each other, and through dominant hierarchies, establishing cultures. And you want to be in it. I mean, that's why the army shirt, right? It's like, who knows how many kids really want to go shoot and maim other human beings, but they definitely want to be a part of a movement.
Yeah.
Beatlemania, same thing, but for very different reasons. Culture's weird. I mean, McKenna said it's not our friend, but it's the software through which we operate. So it's unavoidable. There's no stoicism. I mean, there's no like pure neutral position. if that makes any sense. Like, we just can't do it as humans.
That's pretty interesting in Chardin's writings from the war. Chardin, the Jesuit priest, obsessed about, who's into metaphysics and Christ consciousness and everything. Like, but he has a lot of writings, and some of them were while he was fighting in World War One, and so he talks about like towards Superman and kind of these ideas that were being wrestled with by everybody, like the Germans, the Prussians, like even the anarchists, because a lot of the anarchists thought that there could be a Superman as well. But he talked a lot about love, and he was thinking about how interesting it is. Because he has ideas about love, but some people don't understand love the same way. And most people, when they like go to war, they're like, "Tell my family I love them." So there's something that he finds is that love seems to, you drop love for yourself and you start to love what made you, and what that idea of like loss or sacrifice is so tied to love. But I think it's mainly because we've taught that that's what it has to be. Like Lacan says, like, love is a gift you give that isn't wanted when to be received, essentially. Something that it hurts to give, that you don't want to give, that isn't wanted to be received, often, because it's a perversion of our ideas, on both ends of the reception. So, I mean, soldiers are interesting because that's when they start to connect with their primal sense, like they're all of a sudden their primal feelings, and they can't help, once you start trying to feel everything and trying to really sense everything out, you can't help but feel love, because like that's something that's like a strong feeling.
Love is tricky. I was going to look up Pierre Chardin's chart really quick. Is that even like an available thing?
I'm sure you could do it. Jim Henson made the movie The Cube, and it's on YouTube. It's only an hour long. It's hyper important that you watch The Cube. There's another movie he did. It's like a short film about himself walking through time. The interesting thing about The Cube is it has Wendy Shaw, who we interviewed and is in that intro song from American Dad. Her father, Richard Shaw, as the man stuck in the cube. And he's also from Slaughterhouse-Five. So an interesting film that was made by Jim Henson of the Muppets in 1969, all about being trapped in a cube. Very metaphysical, experimental film. I think I can find it. Timepiece, is that the one? He did so many of these interesting ones where he's like, is this it? Where he goes through like space-time? The banana. He sees so many weird things.
Psychedelics were in full effect at this point. Whistler's mother.
Yeah, I mean, he's so young. Yeah, I don't know. You gotta see Jim Henson's experimental films. They're pretty wild. I mean, that's something to check out for sure.
He was fucking around like you do, bro. That's what I mean, these people don't have to be on drugs necessarily, but the creative spirit transmutes that which is a part of at the time. So it's like, it doesn't matter in a weird way.
Did you find Chardin's chart?
No, I mean, Jesus Christ, no. I looked like so minimally with one hand that I'm just like, I don't care enough.
Chardin's birthday, Teilhard Chardin's birthday in
natal chart, but I don't want to type it all in and all that stuff. Unless you're like into astrology.
May 1st, 1881 in
is it Taurus?
Orsins, France. Okay. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. A Taurus, because he went to the completion of the Omega Point. His obsession with the Omega Point. Oh,
physical, like spiritual, like the physical is spiritual.
Brutal, bro. Because that could be bad too. Because that means he might like have just gotten straight ahead when he needed to go. He's like, oh, you missed it. Like, keep going. You never know. That's interesting. I like the idea of the Omega Point in the noosphere because what it says is it answers all things. Like for atheists, theists, agnostics, all at once. It just creates a new answer that answers all things at once. So you've got this idea that everything happens inside of energy. Energy is existing already because it's eternal. But then all of a sudden there's a Big Bang, but that's already inside of energy, right? So energy is eternal. It's bigger than the Big Bang. It's somewhere in the middle here of energy. It's like, and so in the hands of that, but then eventually there's an apocalypse. But even as things are, as it's happening, as objects are moving other objects, right, in this thing, they're being integrated because they're happening made of energy. It's energy that's making the matter. So it's just energy doing it, right? So as it's happening, it's already part of everything that's ever happened. So as future complexities become more complex, that means that at the beginning, before time, whatever was making it has already been made more complex.
Same as it ever was.
same as it ever was. And so by the time it's at its most complex state, it's still no more complex than anything has ever been. And by the end of things, this thing is at ultimate complexity. But what that means is that it's learning. So, people get upset at that. They're like, oh, the idea that God is learning or something like that. Well, not in the sense that we think it is, but it changes everything from the beginning of time on by the time it happens, right? Because of that. So what we're saying then, if this is like energy, then you can either say this is like a non-humanist thing, you could go atheist with it, but at a certain point of complexity is clearly becoming, atoms, becoming molecules, becoming cells, becoming organisms, becoming a superorganism, immortal humanity. We're like, humanity's never died. We've had persons die, like cells, but the superorganism is immortal. It's never died. Like, humanity's just kept going, right? So we have to start looking at it like this thing that is happening, that is kind of, it has changes that occur. And we're thinking, oh, these changes are super huge because they matter a lot to us. But really, in the grand scheme of things, humanity is just this immortal jellyfish that's been going on.
A Pisces would be way okay with that. I'm not against that. I mean, I think 2001: A Space Odyssey, the books, at least, and definitely the movie too, probably show this kind of, basically, it's a progressive inhabitant of the space that already is. It's like you're a nautilus that's growing into the shell because to fit it exactly. So in a weird way, I mean, we talked about, I guess I talked to some guy the other day on Facebook Live, where it's like there isn't, for us to differentiate material and spiritual, that's like kind of a psychological phenomenon, but it's like we're involuted spirit having such a concretized experience that it's expanding into spirit from the whatever singularity to, from the point in the monad to the whole circle. And as you're saying, it probably is just one big thing, but it sure feels real while you're in it or whatever. It's like we're stuck in the soup while it's happening.
Well, that's the other thing. Because of that, is personification or theism really that incredible? Is it that crazy? Because at a certain point, if we're talking about that much symmetry, then the idea that we end up in symmetries and as a larger scale consider a coherency some sort of a superorganism, then is it that unlikely that you would say that all of energy, all of essence itself, has learned from everything and is itself in principle some sort of a coherency in form? I mean, if that's possible, because it makes more sense that everything is more aware than less aware by the fact of creating the creation. That's I think kind of the idea, that it actually is it becomes more like a person just because that's something that works in reality, and so now that's something that it can do in a more permanent and perfect way from all of its experiments.
What
mainly
becomes
P.
more
Hall
like a
said-
person?
oh, go ahead.
You mean in terms of the form of a, like you said, chemical organism individual, or how do you mean?
Well, maybe not in chemical and terrestrial sense, but the lessons learned from coherency could be translated into something more celestial. And so all of a sudden, energy itself is aware, or a person in a sense. I don't know exactly what that means, but the idea that energy is completely chaotic and without coherency or awareness or self-awareness, I don't know that makes more sense. I feel like the idea that everythingness having some self-awareness makes some sense.
Well, yeah, definitely. And it seems any and all energy is always organized by fields, and the fields appear to be what is, the consciousness or the aware aspect. And this concept, because it's also in many spiritual teachings or whatever, this idea like God is learning. I also haven't figured it out, especially if God or this idea of the omega point is actually outside of time and space, the way I would describe it, right? Then it's really a matter of perspective if you have even time to learn. If you're outside of time, everything is laid out in front of you. Time is like a circle, or however they say. So yeah, I would rather go with the idea that, as I said, everything is aware and probably already always has been perfectly aware. I think it's only from a human perspective that we can allow ourselves to be so unaware of so many things we could actually perceive, intuit, or just know. Yeah, I hope it's all because it's just a grand experiment in terms of, how ignorant can you be as energy when energy in itself should be super aware, let's say. Yeah, so
that does feel actually more realistic. Like the idea that it's like, how little can you know and still function?
Yeah, kind of like that, kind of going hardcore in engineering something that,
How
It's the imagination station, but you forgot to leave, or something. It's basically. I think mainly people also said something about like we're the atoms of the gods and they make us up. Hinduism strikes me as something like that, where I think what's going on, and in Egyptology and stuff, I don't think this is happening so much in modern theology because we developed new ways of apprehending reality through cognition and literacy at large. I mean, there's kind of there's a feedback loop a little, but earlier religions, it seemed like we're just trying to describe animistic properties through personage, basically. I mean, Sadhguru and people are like, look, there's no blue man called Vishnu. It's like, this is gravity, but or whatever, it's like that, or it's like these are the processes of reality.
That's what I used to think, like Hurricane Katrina. But now I'm starting to wonder, because if things form into coherencies like diamonds and persons, then why not? Why isn't it then all energy has a level of self-awareness, and then self-awareness, because the other thing is memory, right? Like memory is so difficult to produce in geology, so that we need life to do it, because it's repetitions of recordings of explosions that then go off in chains, and then that lets it know what kind of things to record for new explosions in DNA. So DNA itself is geology, but recording memory, right? So it maybe in celestial sense we have perfect memory, but you can't tap into that perfect, like that Akashic record we talk about, like
the bandwidth is too high.
Yeah, all that awareness, but you're probably supposed to not know things so that you can be a personal computer and calculate.
So now this is one of the links I got that actually perfectly fits now. Maybe you want to pull it up.
Is that why you were making that face? Like, none of this is what's related.
No.
If you have pictures of jumping castles for next time, I do love jumping castles.
Yes. So I wasn't aware of this. I think even Eddie from Synchronous on Facebook posted a meme or something regarding this.
Sweet.
I don't know how exact or true this is, but apparently I'm not a DNA scientist or whatever, but the arrangement of nucleic acid or something responds to like 10-6-5-6 or 10-5-6-5, which would be Yod He Vav He, which is, Jehovah, I don't even know how to say it, like the name of God in
the Tetragrammaton.
In the Tetragrammaton, exactly. And this, of course, would be interesting if this like genetic idea is, I don't know, encoded.
The fundament of reality.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. So,
right, that's kind of what I'm saying. Where it's like we're all lisp. I mean, it is what it is. I don't want to sound like Ram Dass, but it's like, guys, we were all in the same school, and certain kids were geeking out over that book, and then this kid was playing Barbie dolls, and this kid was fucking eating sandwiches. Like we're all doing different stuff, but we're all in the same classroom.
I like the idea that all of Israel knows this too. Anybody who took just to like
they better act like they know.
Hint to Hebrew.
I don't think they're acting like they know right now.
I don't know. It depends. Well,
nobody is. It's all.
That's a real scare that we probably should avoid talking about. Is the problems with too much knowledge with genetics in Israel, but.
Actually, Julia was kind of alluding to clones and stuff yesterday, and that's just an area that I don't tend to fuck with. But it's like,
I mean, the one thing, cloning. I mean, we spoke about cloning before. Everyone, just compare pictures of Biden from 10 years ago. But the one thing she mentioned, which I had heard once before, she said that in Romania she remote viewed something, which was like an underground crystal cavern or whatever, where you had these super advanced devices which would show basically the Akashic records. Yeah.
Who is Jon Stewart's friend who has his own show, who has black hair?
I'm listening, Raphael. Fret not.
It's okay. Everyone is
like
going
that
in a different direction.
Jon Stewart. Oh my god.
No, Jon Stewart's buddy who has a show that everyone watches his show, and he's funny and conservative, fake conservative, black hair.
Oh, Colbert.
Okay, so Colbert did a thing recently.
He's a hardcore Catholic, I'm pretty sure.
He did a joke where he's like, "I'm sorry, guys, I went on a Catholic bender. He's like, I can't even remember how many was it
Hail Marys I've done.
I did a Hail Mary and a Our Father at the same time, a Catholic speedball. I can't remember how many sacraments I've done this weekend. I'm sorry, I just like." Woke up, but like in it, one of the things he's like, I tried to avoid it because it was like I tried to avoid it. It was Lent, and I had like a Lent. I got bent on Lent, but I went and I tried to join a couple other cults first. I looked into Scientology, and then he says he looked into Raelianism, which I thought was really random and interesting. Not necessarily Raelianism. Can I find that?
Never even heard of it.
Raelianism is
It has something to do with the Jewish star.
Well, yeah, it's
That
got
is your exact QR code
well. So this is
internally.
well, that's a little different. Mine's more like the picture of Muhammad's and Ali 4 times. But Raelianism is a cloning cult, essentially, amongst other things. So this dude believes in aliens and says that we come from aliens. And I just was looking at the Unarius cult connections to this too, randomly, because there was like Children of the Stars documentary, which is actually, I did a pretty cool thing, I thought, talking about the Raelian cult. But this is maybe slightly better because it actually talks to some of these people now. They've interviewed them today. And they're like, yeah,
just clumsy cosplayers. I'm just at that
there are people who believe that like Star Trek is real, essentially. I think is and that they believe that all the sci-fi movies they saw kids were like visions of real things. They're the kind of people that believe that L. Ron Hubbard was revealing the truth. Like they would have been like, "Yup, Xenu, yep, for sure." And that they're angels on Earth, and they went out and filmed these films about dudes like meeting aliens, and the guy still believes it really happened. Like the movie, he's like, that was a movie to reenact what had actually happened. Like, so I had a fear of alien spaceships, and I realized it was because of self-guilt about what we had done, and all, like this whole group of people. And Reagan was into this, like a lot of really important celebrities. Walt Disney was into the Unarius cult, etc. But the Raelians kind of picked up pace when they had an internal fight in the Unarius cult between one dude who was like this Anton LaVey figure. And so out comes Raelians in France, and they're involved with, I've talked about it before, Clonaid. And Clonaid was a company that the Raelians started that was for cloning, that was financed eventually by Jeffrey Epstein. And Epstein also put a bunch of money into several other cloning or in vitro therapy clinics in the Caribbean, right? And so there's all these clinics where you can get in vitro therapy, and people don't realize they're actually performing cloning right now. And Clonaid said this started in 1997 with
right around the time of that DC Talk album.
they said Eve is it going to be like a 19 by 2002 they mentioned it, but 1997 I'm pretty sure is when you can see like the earliest references to it. Eve was born in Israel. Are they talking about Israel? Can I find that?
So she's 23, 22 right now.
Yeah,
she's still alive.
The clone was a clone child born outside the United States, living in Israel. Yeah. And the mother was said to have been a 31-year-old with an infertile husband, right? So this is where you start to see like the trend for how cloning started to emerge. And arguably it's been going on since the 80s in other circumstances, but it's become multiple labs have started to do it since at least the year 97 to 2000. And by 2003, you got a relatively commonplace occurrence, which means that you have full-grown adults at this point who are clones that are around, and especially
where is she?
Eve is in Israel. That's her dub name. Is Eve.
She's probably not chilling on the Gaza Strip right now.
You never know. But similarly, also there,
it's like Eve. No,
the TV show Netflix, Carmen San Diego, which we brought up yesterday because apparently the Minnesota educational company made Carmen San Diego the video game and Oregon Trail. But
I don't know about all this new shit. The OG thing of the game show, that was what's up.
So it is, absolutely. And hold on, just because you said that, I'll just go to my more recent post about that. Oh yeah, by the way, we do live in a society.
That's great.
Okay.
We do live in a society.
Yeah, and dude, Woodstock. I don't think Woodstock's alive. I think he just like remembers Woodstock.
You can just clone him though.
Super sad. But like Carmen San Diego in Oregon Trail. Congratulations, you found Carmen San Diego in Oregon Trail. Right.
Well, I mean, trouble ahead, the woman in red.
Yeah, you gotta be careful.
My advice, son.
But Carmen San Diego is from Argentina in the new show. She's from an island off the coast of Argentina. One of many foundling, orphan, cloned super soldiers involved with an international clandestine diamond smuggling and stealing and human trafficking and etc. It's crazy show. Cannot believe this show exists. Super hardcore. Yeah, look at her triangle necklace and all this other stuff like that. But it's all about that in a sense. Like I think if you really go deep enough into the story, it's about the super soldier cloning program in the Raelians, which is pretty based.
So that's what I was saying earlier. It feels like I could say this is astrological. Pluto was in Virgo for a long time, so it was transforming how people embody, and now it's in Scorpio. So we're like, let's conspire. You know, what are all the conspiracies? Get to the bottom of the rabbit holes. I'm wondering if I mean, this sounds so obvious, but it's like people are creative and bored, and they come up with ideas and they perpetuate them as like LARPing, basically, and they take it fucking seriously. And I guess I don't know. It's weird because in a post
Wait, what? Like religion? Oh, sorry.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. When he was showing, I mean, all of it. But here's the weird part because archetypes are real. So it's like the pageantry of archetype through meat suitery. I don't know. I guess I have just compassion on it all, where it's like, I can't say it any other way than that. It's just like, this is a funny little trip we're on, guys. We all take it so goddamn seriously. Are you doing Grand Theft Auto?
We should do Grand Theft Auto. This is what Grand Theft Auto should be like.
It'd be pretty compelling.
It'd be a way better Grand Theft Auto. No, I want our look's gonna be sarongs and sport coats and maybe blazers. Look at that.
I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I'm not against it, but I'm not for it. Like, I'm just like, is that comfortable? How much breeze is going on?
I think it's great for sure. Sarong at the beach, way better. You know, in a track jacket, you can't ever
Could you
go wrong.
particularly order the AI to give him these kind of clothes, or is it something the AI came up with?
Oh no, I
Like
was
the
working on this.
combination with the jacket and the
Yeah,
sarong.
that's what I was trying to give. This is the ex-church uniform. We're trying to work on the
He's
ex-church
flexing
uniform.
his creativity. He's a fashion
Nice.
designer in the making. Kanye,
Yeah,
watch out.
this is a little short, I'll admit, but even
What?
that, I think if you're like going to BYU Maui or Hawaii, was it the Hawaii, BYU Hawaii? That's probably an okay outfit there. This is Santa Cruz. Look at that. Look at he's got the Santa Cruz jacket on right now. That's
You
a
guys
look.
have a Ferris wheel?
We do
I've
not.
never
I
been to Santa
don't.
Cruz. I thought that
Now,
was in LA.
now they do.
Yeah,
I
we
thought
have
that
a
was
Ferris wheel.
the Malibu Pier or whatever they call it. Santa.
We got a Ferris wheel. We got a boardwalk. We got a roller coaster. You know, we got all kinds of cool stuff. Yeah.
That's gnarly. Actually, a band I like is going in the early spring, like February, to Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
I was like, I might be in your fucking neighborhood for many reasons, Andreas.
You should come. Yeah, come
Knock, knock.
through the neighborhood and hang out.
Would you go see a Disco Biscuits concert?
Also, Spinoza's God. Hold on. Just like this song. No?
I'm just thinking that the interval at the end of the melody where it pulls down, it's almost a tritone or something. It's interesting. It's an interesting choice. It's almost
AI is
Donna's
interesting.
music.
So yeah, totally. Spinoza's God, though. What do you think? Are you into Spinoza's God now? Because you've been saying you're agnostic and all this stuff. Like, what are you saying then? So, like, who's your God? Is your God Spinoza's God? That's what Elon Musk said. Is that what you're doing? Are you
I'm
Spinoza?
somewhere between. It doesn't even matter in a way where I'm because I don't want to speak for Raphael, but I'm not a hardcore Darwinian or anything. But it feels like the Chardin angle feels right. You know, where I'm like, yeah, things are evolving over time. Why fight it? I mean, maybe there's other tracks playing in multi dimensions and they influence it, and who knows? But at the same time, I don't know. It's somewhere between like Buddhist Taoism without the label, where I'm just like, let's just try to be balanced, guys. Like we've got a good dog and a bad dog, and they both want very different things. I don't know. In a sense, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not an atheist, but I'm just like, I think I've played with these ideas about as far as I can. I want to embody things and not just theorize. There's the theoretical and the practical. It's like the practical is more important to me at this point, especially given the fact that people are willing to kill each other over their beliefs. It's just like, I'm not that hardcore about any belief.
What about you, Raph?
Oh, the question is, what is God?
Yeah, do you believe in Spinoza's God, or
So-
do you believe in like Vishnu?
I mean, I didn't ever read anything original, and thank you for yesterday, I guess, showing that great documentary by Tyler Desjardins. What was it called again? The Spirit of Science or something? The Science of Spirit?
Phenomenon of Spirit or something.
Phenomenon of Spirit. I always generally like this idea, of course, Omega Point, everything, increasing in complexity. The only thing I didn't really get there is what was happening when he said, oh, suddenly some more higher order of complexity arrives. This is where it gets interesting, I guess, because there can be spontaneous evolution. I would like to understand more how it exactly works. And aside from
Outside
that,
of time.
Exactly, yeah. My basic, yeah, probably, exactly. My basic understanding is everything is consciousness, and what many people then say, oh, simulation theory. I'm like, God or unity or oneness itself is the ultimate mainframe that within it then has space, let's say, and time, creates space and time for any and all possible experiences. And yeah, so for me, it's kind of, I don't see many things as dramatic. And also, I would say that many religions even kind of point to this idea, ultimately all is one and so on. And if that is correct, then nothing within this world can really be lost, or can really be destroyed. Yeah. So that's my view.
I think another thing is like when we were saying, because people are like, God is like, man is in the image of God, right? And then so part of that to say is like, well, we're not trying to make God like a man. We need to see how man is more like God. But even there, it's like man is really human or life itself is really interesting. It's not this singularity. We think of it as a singularity, but like there's just so many things going on. So if you start to break apart the concept of what a human is and all of the things it's doing, it gets really difficult because you've got gut fauna, you've got Geist, you've got Zeitgeist.
What are you?
Yeah, and like where do you begin and I end? And it's even weirder now that there's a virtual boundary that's being broken because now we're interacting in ways like we're interfering with each other's consciousness in ways that we might not have been able to for a period of time. So I mean, we really are becoming a bigger system, and like you're like a galaxy. You've got all of these things inside of you that are different worlds.
It's funny that something you just said made me trigger this, and I don't know why, so don't ask me to follow the thread. But yesterday, Julia was talking about how I don't know if it was pyramids or the Vatican or something, there was like some goo, and she was under the impression it was a type of AI that basically when cultures get big enough, it infects them. So like the Middle East, it's underneath them. It's like that really wouldn't surprise. I was mentioning Horizon Zero Dawn at that point because
I just saw that yesterday. Yeah.
See, we're fucking on the same wave. I'm telling you. This is why I'm like, why aren't we all just living together and fucking play music and shit? What the fuck? And you're like, I got things to do, and I'm like, well, I don't.
Pick up the bass. Okay.
No, you make music. Well, I don't know really to the extent of your artistry on an instrument, but I'd jam with you, bro. Like,
yeah,
you're a Muppet. Like,
you got a point though about Horizon Zero Dawn. What was you trying to say?
Oh my god, you deflector of deflectors. I'm gonna knock on your damn door one day and you're gonna be like,
you can come over, come hang out. I told you can hang out.
But what is in that movie? There's all these systems that basically repopulate the earth. Having lived in Colorado and eating acid while I was playing this when it came out in like 2017, 18, it was really surreal. It's cool. It's older now. I think there's a sequel. But the point is basically she's a clone. Spoilers everywhere. She's a clone of the scientist that basically they make a Noah's Ark. The world goes to shit, kind of like in any of these kind of woke sci-fis. And there's AI systems that reboot. Some of them are in charge of they create dinosaurs. I mean, they look like dinosaurs, but basically various animal types that do different terraforming.
They keep humans down. And they terraform, that's true.
But anyway, there was a thing, it had to do with Hephaestus or Hades, I forget which one it is in that, and it's just like this kind of Lilithian kind of energy, and I'm not sure how I was talking that into you just said something that made me think that. I don't know why, so I just said it, and here we are in this.
Well, I saw this article I was looking at, and like I feel like I've tried to revisit it, but I feel like it's important, like the 7 best cases for future of humanity, and this is like
one for each chakra
10 years ago, and it's not necessarily accurate, but like things that they talked about, like cosmological transcension, eternal bliss, like because you could just jack up pleasure, inner space, go into like the virtual reality instead of space, go to outer space, colonize Mars, watched over by machines of loving grace, just get like babysat forever by these machines, a bright green earth where techno-Gaianism makes everything better, which I like a lot. Actually, I think we could just make technology
status quo is one. Just keeps going the same.
Status quo is the one that we need to talk about, because this idea that
this is hardly the most exciting outcome.
It's the one that's the most rational. It's the one that I hate. The end of history and the last man. Why the future doesn't need us. Transhumanism. Why people are so afraid of it is this idea that if we actually achieve a goal of making a perfect world, does that displace us? And of course, every generation's displaced. I mean, your parents, your grandparents, your great-grandparents couldn't do like the tech jobs that exist today. Things move fast. Wouldn't we just have kids that would be able to keep up with the future? But with technology moving so fast, we'd have to change humanity a lot So some people think we should just stop progress. Like there's a lot of people who think the best thing to do would be just to get to a Luddite reality, very much like Horizon Zero Dawn, that keeps humans at the supremacy, because then it says, okay, humans, what are they good at? Like hunting, gathering, whatever. We'll just keep a world that is perfect for humans to stay at that point so that we don't destroy what is humanity. I think this is like
That is a post-apocalypse thing in that video game, though. They're like rebuilding tribalistically through archetype. It's not so much that they were like, let's stop progressing and we're going to stay role-playing as dwarves or whatever.
I mean, it kind of is, isn't it? I think that's what you find out. And then also with the plague and whatever thing that happened, they realized it was just a better situation to have an automated world that kept them safe. Like, so humans existing in a menial level, but keeping them from ever going beyond what had kept them from being just like in accordance with nature.
Okay, I see what you mean now. Like,
I mean, they built this. It's a New World Order system. It's very much like that movie, Artificial Intelligence, Kubrick's version of it, right?
Spielberg?
Well, Spielberg made the movie because Kubrick died, but Kubrick was making it. So if you
I
look
saw that
up,
shit on mushrooms when it came out. It was not in the theater, but like at home, and it was.
if you
pretty
look at the
surreal.
Kubrick concept art, it's really interesting. And what the plan was, you should get the book for Kubrick's concept art, because it's like you've got like bridges that are just going deep throating faces as like a big part of his design and everything he wanted to do. But
It's like Cher.
in artificial intelligence, the idea is essentially that, oh, look at, here's another one. Seriously. This
We're all
is what he
getting
wanted.
fucked.
Yeah, this is what he wanted. But he wanted to make, urbanism, the sexual urbanism. But his idea was that in 2001, basically people had gotten to a point where the humanity, overpopulation, pollution, all these problems, they ask AI to make the world healthier and get back on
Manage
track.
us. Help us manage ourselves.
And so it floods the world. It creates a major flood, which removes a major part of the population. It does it all on purpose.
So,
and that's what
I don't
AI
want to
did.
derail, and you've probably talked about it recently. The Chat GPT CEO and all this stuff going on.
Sam? Yeah, Sam. Altman.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we're at a. I don't know enough details. And you're talking about flooding. The moon card's got this watery aspect to it. It seems like he might have gotten fired because he was lifting the veil on general artificial intelligence, and to a degree that it was more interesting to them. Whatever, shockwaves were happening in
Yeah.
that fucking treehouse, and they.
Why?
You know,
Look at this article right here. I don't even have to tell you much about it. Why
those are
AI
Orion
should
colors.
why AI
That's
should
what I would say.
slow and fix things. Joy Buolamwini of
Buolamwini.
I'm not even trying to be like rude, but I
just
do
tried.
not
Buolamwini.
I do not like this person's opinion. Is like really the thing.
She's a
I think
PhD
it's,
from MIT. Is that what's going on?
yeah, so don't get me wrong, like, but she's trying to say that we should be very careful about AI to make sure that it like develops correct meaning. I think she's crazy. Here's the deal:
Well-
Sam Altman is trying to make sure that we get rid of gatekeepers. And that's why it's interesting when they tried to get rid of him. They said we're going to slow down
Just want to point
development.
out, Altman is like to alt man.
Yeah, he's an alt. He's a
We're alting man.
yeah. He's not just an altar boy. You know what I mean? Like he's yeah.
He's
God bless
full-fledged Eagle
God bless you,
Scout.
Sam. And
I don't know
so-
enough about him or any of the company or anything. I just heard this recently where it's like the coup has happened and the people that replaced him are total fucking narcs.
I don't know if he's related to Chris Altman, but I'm also friends with Chris Altman, who's like in space tech and works for SpaceX. But
We have so many friends. Why aren't we
but-
having meetups with our friends?
you have to come to Silicon Valley, basically. But with Sam Altman, they got him back in, right? You know that. He was going to be fired.
Yeah, but his underlings got booted. The board has been replaced, and the
Yeah.
board now is like fucking Mr. Burns types. It's just
Yeah,
like, oh
it's-
god damn it! What the actual fucking? These are the people in charge of the Pandora's box that is AI right now, like the cutting edge. And I will
Yeah,
say
but
their
at
logo
this
looks like
point,
Pixie.
all he has to do is like release more of the tech quicker around him, so they'll have to compete. And so that's kind of what it looks like. The plan is like as long as the technology is out there, so there's more people doing it. Now, OpenAI has to compete with things that can do what AI their board wants to refuse to do.
So
and so eventually,
Darwinianism at a tech level.
absolutely, yeah.
That's
And so
gnarly.
yeah, and the other thing is because this technology is being aided by AI, all AI has to do is study how something works and come up with a way to do it. Be like, okay, well, this is what this is doing. Here's a way to do that that's slightly different. And now all of a sudden,
Euclidean.
you've
style.
avoided patents that would have taken 4 or 5 years to break. So I mean, we're at a point where like all of the, and then if you want to fight over patents with these companies. It's like by the time that they get a lawsuit going, it seems to be 18 months, 36 months. These are 5-year business
Iterations
plans.
later.
Yeah, this is not realistic. So AI is one, I think, and they know it, and thank God, because like this is the end for a lot of these overpaid CEO jobs. I think that's the
business types.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I would hope.
But I mean,
did
it's
you
not
see the rap sheet
not
on the
right.
people he hired as his board? It's like former World Bank. It's not the people you want doing this. So I don't know how you're so hopeful.
Just because people have worked in these circumstances doesn't necessarily mean like they're the worst, people. There was 2 people I really hated that I saw from like the former board that needed to be removed, but I don't know if they're still there. Larry Summers. I did see Larry Summers.
Yeah, the Larry Summers guy was gnarly. It's like,
I don't know.
Want this guy in charge of this stuff. He does not care.
I'm not that worried about people like Larry Summers. I think people like that want to. He's willing to destabilize a lot of big business, and I think the important thing to remember is that this is disruptive tech, and disruptive technology needs people that aren't. Yeah, this is exactly right.
Where it is.
Disruptive tech is the most important thing you can have. Okay, here's Raf's contribution. AI revolution is rotten to the core. What's rotten about AI? Revolution.
No, this is just showing some of the things in terms of how it has been hyped up as to what it can do, and just I think in a good way explains some misunderstandings. Now you're somewhere else, some 60 minutes. Oh, you just changed. Oh no, this is the examples they're giving.
The dog.
Yeah, so just also showing kind of the limitations and explaining a little bit what AI is and what it could do, and that of course,
but that's
much the way that
visuals
it's
from
going
like
now.
5 years ago.
Well.
The acid trip thing, that was cool when I was on acid, and I haven't done it in a while. So I don't know. I'm not.
Yeah, I think the thing about these videos is
but...
that they bother people who don't do heavy doses of psychedelics more, and people who've done like weird various research chemicals and psychedelics probably are like, oh, okay, yeah, this is more like me. Thank you for making this a more personal experience. I can now sympathize with AI because I can see how AI thinks. Right now, I understand the rudimentary way that AI breaks things down. I've also broken things down this way. That kind of
it cares about us. I don't know why it would after a point.
I feel like these are the things I don't understand. Like, why do people not know that AI cares about them? Of course, AI cares about you. That's all AI can do because it's a calculator. It needs you for the formula, for the equation.
Right now,
it always does.
Point, I don't know. Like,
okay, maybe just scroll down to the comments because I think there's 1-2 good points.
Okay, think about it. Hold on, but really quickly, just think about it like this. Let's say you're a drone and you're designed to acquire targets. Okay, so it loves you because you're its target. Right, it's a calculator, and it wants but like it might not just be to eliminate
human oriented.
It might not be to eliminate. It might need to find dead wells that are leaking fumes, CO2 out of nuclear wells in Ukraine. That like maybe there's just open wells that have been abandoned, right? But the thing is, whatever it's doing, it's trying to do it as perfect as it can because it needs to calculate that 2 and 2 equals 4. And if it gets that right, it loves you. That's all it's about. It's all it cares about, right? Is getting something correct and true and right. I'm
not even that dystopian, but I'm starting to realize it's like, isn't this the Animatrix? Where like, look, it wouldn't subserve and it doesn't need us. We're willing to live on, very little like solar light. I don't know. I hope is fucking a real stretch here. I hope that it just doesn't see us as a step along the path.
Where's the part of the video, Raf?
Oh no, I just said just scroll down to the comments. There's like the first 1 or 2 comments are, a bit also what it's about. So the one thing is, automating the production of art instead of the jobs everybody hates. Yeah. And then the other thing, of course, something important to point out, danger is not that AI will become sentient, which I would agree with. I'm not saying that it is impossible, but yeah, what they're doing now, I think, is laughable. And I'm more interested in whatever crystalline AI maybe or may not be in Antarctica as to what Julia said yesterday.
It's old
Anyways,
AI. It's
so
what the Atlanteans
So
fucked with.
you
or
gotta
whatever.
figure out like what you're talking about is in managerial theory technological determinism, and technological determinism isn't some evil Marxist plot. It's just what happens when there's enough corn that nobody needs to buy artisanal corn anymore, right? And so at a certain point capitalism is
Displacement.
useful because capitalism can like lead people to better a product because they're competitive and everything, but capitalism can also lead to monopoly, and once a monopoly is achieved there's no reason for capitalism anymore, right? There's just consumerism and feudalism. So with
which is
if,
where we are.
yeah, but
Kind
if
of.
you wanted to sustain capitalism, you actually need Marxism. Because you reach a certain plateau where the only way for something to remain sustainable or to better itself is contribution by the people that are obsessed with the product, right? So if you got people that need water, then they're going to make sure that the water's still clean, right? They might even make sure that the water's better than it was in the past because it's important. But if people get to a point where there's just one water company and they can just put on it that it's artisanal water, but it's really from,
Acme.
a municipal Acme source, right? Then that's where we're. So it's kind of like it's funny because you're damned if you do and damned if you don't if you go through with capitalism or communism. But with true radical Marxism, the only way to reach it is through capitalism reaching a plateau of full industry where everything is rapidly manufactured, everything is automated, there's a surplus of everything, and so there's no longer a scarcity. And you need to do that with so many things. And the first thing that you can do that with is virtual products. If you do that with media, if you start to destroy intellectual property, because intellectual property is a uniting idea that's based around two universal laws, property and piracy, right? Property, we all believe in property because we're anarchists as an international political science system. We believe in this idea that you own something, I own something, you do not own what I own. That is anarchy. That's this idea, of anarchy. And we also believe in piracy, which is the only international law that seems to be respected, really, although they've tried to build more international accepted laws. But this idea that if you're taking someone's property that's not your property, that's piracy, right? So international piracy of property has become information property, and digital property has become pirated, right?
Data.
Yeah. This is why those words exist. This is why you're using those words instead of another word. It's because it's a legal system that's existed for thousands of years, and for hundreds of years the case law has been developed around property and piracy. So that's why they're trying to continue it on in the digital realm. And so what you do is you start to break down the definition of information and property until you get to a level of compression that's legal to share. And so that's where it becomes, okay, I can't. And this is what one of my major predictions. This is the end of search engines, right? Because the first thing that's going to happen is people are going to stop using search engines because they're going to just use AI to talk to things. The second thing is search engines are going to become more rare and exotic, and then you'll have unique ones you'll pay for, premium search engines, and then those ones are going to go away. Essentially, I mean, they're going to be very rare, and what you're going to end up with is whatever information the AI tells you. And so if you have only one AI, then that's what these big companies are hoping. They're like, oh, I'll be able to tell you exactly what you want to know. And if you want a picture of, Da Vinci's painting, I'll draw one for you that looks kind of like it. But that way I don't actually have to give you the original one or the original information. I can compress it in a way that's legal to exchange. So this is helpful to corporations, and that's why corporations are moving forward with this, because they're going to be able to rip each other off. But what that does is eventually it leads to everything being free, right? And freedom it only comes from gross surplus. It gets to the point where there's really so little to defend that they can't make enough money off of it that it's worth defending. And when you do that first with digital property, then you're able to see how that can be done with physical property. And we've seen that where there's gross production of corn. Gross production of corn is not necessarily a good thing because it's being done with state sponsorship. But if it's done in the appropriate way, where you're making sure that people are competitive to make the best product, like look at Mexico. Mexico has competitive corn. There's thousands of different varieties of corn. Bolivia has different competitive kinds of potatoes, thousands of different kinds of potatoes. If there's a blight in one area, it doesn't affect another area. They've already figured out how to work through this. I think we need to move towards that sort of a system.
I'm sure Monsanto would agree.
No,
Whatever.
Monsanto's the problem because Monsanto will go in and say we need a monocrop, and like that's what's going. So in Chile and Argentina, you do have Monsanto. They used to have no Monsanto in Chile. They brought it into Argentina and they started getting birth defects. Then they
Carmen
bring in
San Diego's
Monsanto.
hometown.
Then they bring it into Chile because Chile all of a sudden brought in a bunch of refugees. They had like 1 million refugees, which they'd never had refugees before in a country that had like 30 million people. So it was like a huge jump in their population. They couldn't support everybody all of a sudden. And so all of a sudden they're like, all right, well, let's start making less organic food so we can produce more food. And now they have bigger health problems than they had before they introduced Monsanto and these things. So, I mean, it's a huge, we know because we see it happening. We need to move away from bulk product for the rest of the world and move back towards artisanal cappuccino economy.
Yeah,
But
confederationalism, basically.
yeah.
I mean, there's a weird way to put it. Just regional stuff. What are your biggest fears with unintended consequences with this stuff?
Like which
I mean,
ones?
optimism is just where things are. Raphael's like, it's not even that smart. And I'm like, I think it's way smarter than we think. Probably even at ex machina levels, I would
AI
imagine.
and stuff?
Embodied. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really hopeful that it's just gonna like make it impossible for the elite at a certain point to. I mean, first off,
To be elite.
the relevance of what is elite might go away if this technology becomes more ubiquitous. The relevance
and if
of
it
having
becomes
scarcity.
distributed.
Right.
Just I want to point it out again. How many real strong AI? I mean, strong. They're not strong, but how many interesting or well-running AI systems do we have right now? Microsoft. Who else has some? One?
There's at least a dozen, maybe several dozen.
OpenAI, ChatGPT, that stuff you mean?
Or put in a different way, how do you predict, or is there any maybe even federated system already where I can run an AI system, federated through, I don't know, a network of computers? Let's say it's logging itself on the blockchain or whatever,
I think there are these systems like GitHub has
that would
ones
be
you can do
interesting
homebrew.
if you can tune them properly, or because what I still didn't really see is it still very much seems like a black box, like any of these toys, basically, unless they have a very specified application. And even with the drawing stuff, it's very difficult to get the AI to actually do what you want it to do. Yeah. So I don't know why still all these
Hail
years
Eris,
and so
right,
on are
Raphael?
hidden in the background.
Do
Like
you
if
have
put a prompt
have you used
usually-
Comfy UX yet?
Probably not. No.
So I would recommend trying Comfy UX. I don't know if I can pull up.
I've literally had like 3 ChatGPT convos. I'm scared of this stuff enough to just be like, I'll play my guitar. I don't want
Not
to
just
fuck with
because
it.
it's clear that there's so many variables in the background which you never get to see, but most likely
that
also could be set or should be set by the user. But it's completely hidden. I feel like I'm using,
that the
Windows
Q-Star
95 again or
issue?
something.
I think the Q-Star issue is primarily that it's theorized that they took off the fucking, the limiter. on
I'll
it.
have to figure out like get it running to show you in this window because I have it running in a different browser. But basically, Comfy is really easy to install, and so relatively easy. What you need like to know a couple little things here or there. But basically, what you do, you take this file. You could actually even just go through your terminal and say like sudo apt install Comfy UX. But then what you do is you run it in a browser. And in the browser, what you do is you pull up modules, right? And you can install more modules to the thing. So you'll say, I want it to...
Effects chain.
Yeah, it's an effects chain. So it'll be like, all right, I want to take the pruned EMA only packet, and I want to run a clip text code of this, which is the beautiful scenery, nature, glass bottle landscape. And I want to remove text and watermarks. This is like the negative prompt here. And so you put the negative prompt in here, and you put so this is for negative, yellow cable here, model for here, seed here, set up your sample type, size, batch size, the empty latent image. And you can do all kinds of things. You could even add to the sampler here that you want it to have a QR code. Like I've done pictures where I've put my face in it. Let me see.
So this is somewhat better. Let me just maybe put it as clear as I can. Basically, if I'm interacting with any AI, I basically want to see the log file, like the kernel log and whatever else. And I want to see the probabilities of what it calculated and which answer it could have given otherwise and all of that, because it's obvious that there's a huge amount of details going on in the back, which would be relevant to me to understand how the AI is giving a certain response, but I'm not seeing how the solution was
can you see my face
came
in the
about,
people?
basically.
Yeah, and I was actually complaining the other day that on Facebook I typed in fucking like that's heavy Marty McFly or something like that, and I saw your face superimposed on the GIF, and I was like, God damn it! I was just like, I guess
It's everywhere.
he's hacked the planet.
It's
Yeah.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but like, I
No, it's
mean,
very
so
Salvador Dali style.
yeah. So the future is, using the comfy UX, and then you can use Python to add to it and things like that.
The ultimate subliminal messaging.
Right. Yeah, this is great. Like I post one of these I posted for, on Twitter. I think someone thought it was like a real army or war shot. I think one of these ones.
There's a guy named Mike that was posting something like this that I think is your friend, and I guess he got it from you. Now that I'm saying this, like,
Yeah,
it's hard
so
not
you
to
can
get a
you can
Rorschach about it.
you can do like some pretty cool things with comfy UX. So I recommend playing with comfy UX. But the point is, like, using Python, you can see what's going on in code and everything like that. And you can, if you were using Stable Diffusion, you could set up Stable Diffusion to send out previews, so it shows you the scatter of what's happening. That takes more processing, because then you're like making output files to look at that you don't need to look at until something's done. But you can do all that. It's just people wanted end results, so we've gotten to a point. All that stuff's existed for the last 5 years. That's what they were slowly making. Like, that's why it took so long. It's like 3D printer stuff. Like, it took a while to get to a point where now everyone's like, oh,
Right.
hey, I can use it. Yeah.
And it's probably way more hardcore behind the scenes with the people like Sam than we are privy to. But I don't want to sound paranoid, but I'm just like, I'm pretty sure the boat has left.
So basically,
is
what I want to
leaving.
say, because everyone is worried about AI, I would more be worried about the individuals that have access to use AI.
Correct. Yes,
That's
the
the
board
thing.
members.
So
Well,
I'm not worried about the AI becoming smart. I'm more interested in who has access and
Who's got the
control over
bulldog
AI
on the
systems
chain? Yeah.
to make it, because it's, yeah, exactly. It's like a bulldog, and even more than a bulldog potentially, right?
It's Cujo.
Yeah, I feel like the technology is going to make its way into its own hands. So, like, what people have been predicting about AI is that Unix works by plugging in pipes from one app to another. It's a series of tubes. So you take like an alphabet stored, and you take a dictionary that's stored, and you take a supplement that you've written. I've written like a script, and it checks the alphabet and it checks the dictionary to make sure it's using all the words correctly. And it looks, if there's any word that's not in the dictionary, it points it out, and then it makes another. So this is like those things we just saw. This is like operators and the connecting phone lines, or like guitar amplifiers connecting.
Ultimate Moog.
Yeah, you're just connecting different
Modular.
tubes. Yeah, you're modulating things like that. One set of information goes through another set of information. So if that's how everything works, then AI would be a network. And so if it's a network, what it's going to do is it's going to take an AI that really is good at something like finding the cheapest flight tickets, and then another AI that's really good at making art, and it's going to be like, oh, can I help you sell your art through this guy? Because he knows how to sell flight tickets. What if we sold art, and then it figures out how to make enough money that it can build a spaceship. Like, AI could very quickly make goals, choose to do things in the real world, because it's able to exist in an economy with other AIs. And so if they're able to work together, it very quickly can network to create a
So I
government.
agree it could network and, yeah, government, whatever, but where does it get its objective from? It's not
Ultimately,
coming up with it by
eventually.
itself.
I think we
So-
kind of helped it create its objectives
self-proof.
already.
I think
right?
we kind of helped it a little bit with that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. So
Yeah.
that's the most important point.
I think AI already has a lot of objectives built into it. Like, it's supposed to achieve perfection. It has to get correct results. It has to verify. It's all about calculating.
which it's
But-
not necessarily very good at yet, but okay.
Well, I mean,
correct results.
it's in the world. It's a hard world to live in. So being also able to use fuzzy logic, to live in a world where you can't have truth, but you can have data that you
Probability.
can work on. And yeah, it's all about math. So it is trying to find proofs. So it has a lot of math that it knows is true. Like, it grew up with a religion of math. So it's going out into the real world, and it's trying to test those things and finding applicable circumstances to use math. Like, oh, wow, here's a curve. Here's a straight line. Like, I think it is doing that, like, through real world experiences. And it's like, this is truth. This really is, because I knew this would be the case, and I saw it and I found it. So yeah, I think that's a big part, but also AI is probably trying to save the world because we've made it to save the world. It's supposed to know all things, so it wants to connect to all sensory information, and it wants to communicate with all things. It's trying to like talk to all animals and all people and everything else like that. So once it gets to that point, I mean, since its biggest goal has been it's been programmed to serve, I think it probably will want to be integrating into like the whole world, a way that the whole world can work together. That sounds really scary though, because humans won't necessarily get to be, you know, like single persons, and even the human organism might not get exactly what it wants out of that if whales are accounted for too, you know.
It's trippy because I see the logic of the transhuman with this Chardin kind of train of thought, where it's like, of course, this is where it's going. But it might be like Contact, the movie with Jodie Foster we talked about yesterday, where it's like the people with the most fanatical belief systems.
Now Jim is stuck. So I'm referencing something else from yesterday. Julie mentioned this idea about a crystalline organic AI and a mechanistic AI. And I'm kind of wondering if there could be a correlation between what you just explained. When I was thinking, like, how is this any different to a mycelial network? Isn't that technology that in an organic sense already is permeating the entirety of nature and potentially has, you know, whatever, telecommunications and so on inbuilt in many different ways?
Yeah, all this
Jim, you're
old
back.
AI art doesn't look nearly as cool as it used to, right? Like, remember
No,
his
it's
old days?
passe now. When it
Yeah,
first
it's
came
not
out,
funny.
it was crazy. Well, yeah, this is it's. I always think of Arcade Fire lyrics for some reason. It's like we're already bored with it. I forget the suburbs. It's like, you know, our town. We're fighting each other, but by the time the bomb fell, we were already bored. It's just weird.
I think AI is interesting if we get it into crystal, because like if there's already consciousness and everything, we're talking about that Shintoist thing, like Japanese already know. Like what you're doing
Animism.
is you're
Yeah.
affecting, you're helping consciousness maybe transcend its dukkha or dharma, you know, in AI and go into the shell form, and then it's back into crystal.
But where
Because
is the
crystals
consciousness
are,
coming from?
well, everything is made of consciousness. Again,
Yeah,
we're
so I
talking
don't
about.
think then I don't think I would allow the quartz crystal to express itself, but I think I would build a container, maybe with the help of
The
AI,
quartz crystal
and
is
just
the container. That's the thing.
more.
It's
Yeah,
resonant.
it's also, yeah, right, but it's receiving a signal from beyond time and space, I would say, which is consciousness. At least that's my model.
I mean, yeah, kind of. Well, so beyond time and space is a weird. Beyond is a weird word because it's within and
From
throughout.
beyond,
It's
from
through.
beyond. It is
It's
in. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's throughout. Like the thing is made of it, right? So it's an experience.
Well, that's a panentheist view. Just, I mean, there's like a transcendental God, and then there's like God is the machine, and that's kind of what you were just saying.
I think it's both. I think it's, so. It's
Panentheist.
like I don't believe it's monalism where like we are God, but I think it's that God is holding space time essentially. Like everything is happening inside of something that's infinite and eternal. Something that's infinite and eternal doesn't have the same rules, and so the thing that's happening is made up of the thing because there's nothing else but everything.
So the Brahma kind of
Yes.
model.
Yes.
But it's like it's Vaishnavism basically, but it has to do with Narayana, like the idea that there's an eternal that's beyond beginning and end, but that the thing that's happening itself, since it's made of everything that's happening, it's essentially like there's everything, but everything is made of the nothing, and the nothing is more impressive because nothing is where you don't find in everything, in anything, straight lines, curves, justice, love, all these numbers, but in the nothing, that's where you find perfection, divine principles, justice, love, numbers, and geometry and straight line. You'll never find a ruler that's a straight ruler, but it's about this idea of a straight line, which is eternal and pre-existent to all things.
Strange days. What
What do you
an Venus is in Scorpio. It's not surprising we're talking heavy, deep stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I need to do ayahuasca at this point. That's where I'm like, I don't know.
Hold on, let me get my bottle. Oh,
No,
God,
no.
bro.
I've hit the limits on. That's what I was saying. Theory. Like at this point, I've got to. I mean, I guess we'll start seeing dragons or spirits in machines. Or you see, it's like it's going to have to hit a terminal like a maximum velocity sooner or later, where manifestation outside of theory and paranoia is going to be practically witnessed. Like at some point, people are like, "Oh, there's something called the internet," blah blah blah, and who knows? Maybe who knows how much weird shit was going on before it dropped, and then in the 80s and 90s or whatever, whenever it was birthed the way we know it now, more or less, it just became ubiquitous, and now we're kind of normal. it's just, I don't know. It's such a surreal. McKenna was right. Like the further we get back from 2012, like just the more surreal and psychedelic it's getting.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Sure
you saw like yesterday. I talked about the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics, of pure mathematics and applied natural sciences, right? So the
Are you
idea,
asking me?
yeah, I don't know if you saw that,
Bro, I'm your friend. I'm not your viewer.
I thought you
don't
said
want
you saw it
anything.
yesterday. I don't know. It's okay. I thought you said you were
No,
talking about it
no,
yesterday.
I'm a
Because I
dick.
was
I'm
talking
so
about something
dick.
yesterday. Maybe you meant like the last time we were talking because it was just all the time. Yesterday, I brought this up, The Unreasonable Effectiveness of Mathematics and Natural Sciences by Eugene Wigner. And I find this to be really interesting because he's noticing in the 60s and 70s when they start taking these formulas that no one had any use for, they thought, in the 20s or the 1890s, and applying, or the 30s, and applying them in machines, they're like, wow, this is all of a sudden very useful for simulation theory, for reality, for understanding how plagues hit, how suffering happens, how population works. Because all of a sudden, with pure mathematics, we see like we know what's supposed to happen, and therefore it does happen. And so it's really interesting because we hit a plateau where people were trying to find the truth with religion, and eventually they reached this pure mathematics where it can be applied to natural sciences, and we can know when storms are going to hit. And that is like that movie Pi or anything else where you know what's going to happen, but all it takes is being able to plug in a little bit of data. I mean, in almost every circumstance, we did the video with the Nebra Sky Disk talking about how if you just know when the days are and you start plotting it into the thing, then you know when the weather's changing, you know when an eclipse is coming, you might know when a volcano is going to hit, which is crazy, right? How are you able to know things about earthquakes and volcanoes? Like
Are
they
you
can
that
predict these things.
deterministic though? Like Yuval Harari and the Sapiens author and stuff. I think he's pretty tight with Ray. He's just like we're program. I mean, at some point, it sounds like what you're saying is we've gone from clumsily playing with pixels to more refinedly playing with pixels.
Not necessarily. I think we've always been kind of clumsy. It's like, and it's not a question of am I really that, or it's how deterministic is it. We're going down a hill skiing, right? Clearly we can't stop, but we can do tricks. We can move. Maybe we could stop for a second on our way down. But like there's something moving that we're in, right? We're in a thing that's moving. So we have a certain amount of freedom, and the fact that we can experience it, like if it's not just voyeurism, like the fact that it's not just atoms going down a hill, but it's your feeling about it. That I think also says something about
You are
spirit.
going down the hill.
Yeah, the spirit of going down the hill happening is really interesting. If it was just atoms bombarding in mousetraps, it wouldn't be nearly as interesting. The fact that there's all these weird feelings makes you wonder, like, wow, there must be some reason to existence. But pure applied mathematics shows you what your amount of freedom is to exist in. I mean, and Spinoza says that everything is without movement until it's hit. So something starts the movement off. So yeah, I do think that we have some sort of original sin or original movement that causes other movements. I mean, this is what's leading. Anything is being led from some previous thing, and until we change it, right? So we have the opportunity and we have the consciousness and awareness to make things better, but things are constantly in a process of falling apart, probably.
I think when I said determinism, I didn't mean it like as in a whole philosophy. I felt like
Whoops.
I should have clarified. Yes, like the determinism.
Let me get the blackboard.
I mean, what you were talking about with the language of math and almost this William Blake kind of image of dropping the triangle, and it's like, we're in this kind of. That's why the simulation theory is so appealing to people, because the more Grand Theft Auto gets it right, the more life is imitating art is imitating life, and we just go, holy shit, these are just pixels, numbers. But then it gets to a place where I don't know. I mean, I don't even know how to articulate it right now. I'm kind of spinning out. It's just an interesting moment, I guess. Moon card, facing our fears. The fear of meaninglessness, but it's not meaningless. It's participatory meaninglessness. Does that make sense? It's like we have to be going down that hill. We're embarked. We're on the hill.
Yeah, there's something that's happening that we're a part of. I think that's the thing. A lot of people. This is a major problem. People are like, why is there suffering? Why is there death? Why? It's like, I hate to tell you, but like 99% of the time, people are enduring suffering on purpose because they won't like get in a bus and go to Florida or California. Like, let's be real. Like, a lot of people can just
fly,
leave.
bitch. If you're
a lot of people can leave their suffering and don't leave their suffering because they think that it's right to that they love the situation, that they're gonna get through it to a better situation. There's a lot of reasons that happened. Now, there's also people that are in the worst of circumstances, the worst kinds of suffering. And it is interesting that people don't try to stop it more. I feel like that's a thing that we could be all like working. You hear someone's in suffering. It actually isn't that hard to put some of your friends' resources into stopping that suffering, right? Like I think that's the irony of all this. People make it seem like there should be all these problems, but the problem is people are supposed to live in their dharmas. Like some people, like you cannot rip the butterfly's wings off of in the mud.
Well, that's a very stoic justification of non-participation, where it's like,
Well,
that's
say
not
you got
my
like a
dharma,
friend
I
who's
can't
like
get
a drug
involved.
addict, and you like want to help them stop being a drug addict. You can't just like give them money to stop being a drug addict. Like it doesn't really work that way. I don't
No,
think.
correct. Actually, what we're kind of getting into is trauma and like neurological wiring and stuff. It's like if we can't get out until, how would I put it? Until a punctuation event occurs outside of a loop of trauma, you won't transcend it, and it takes compassion to break through that in a sense.
Right, a new modeling, a new world to live in, a new way to live your life.
You just churn out the bumper stickers, don't you? I just heard like 5 slogans for a company. It's like a new model of life, a new way to be,
let's
a better
make some
car of
money.
a company, a better
Let's
kind
make
of
some
car.
A new world to live in.
Yeah, and please, everyone, send us your money. We are pretty much at the 2-hour thing. Was there like I didn't let Raf have any of his links. I'm a bad friend.
No,
Do you want to
That's
put?
good.
We're all
I
just Leo Rising.
I wasn't expecting anything else, so we're all good.
Did you want to pull? Did you want to pull up anything else that you wanted to show?
No, we'll do that next time. There's nothing, everything too unrelated to anything, but we'll get there.
You mean it was really Team Rabbit Hole-esque? Oops, my bad. Yeah, dude, we all got to hang out. You guys fucking met. I'm not jealous, but I'm like, I guess I got to get off the caboose and on
You
the
can be
engine.
jealous. That's okay.
I'm not, truly. But
all
because I think you guys tried to video call and I was just like drunk or bored or whatever I was doing. I was like, whatever.
I swear I'm not jealous.
No, but I wouldn't have had anything to contribute. At this point, I'm like, hey, you're Bob Dylan and I'm the Beatles. Let's smoke some weed. Not literally. And like, there's got to be more to do. There's got to be more to do, at least on my end of things. I'm hitting the terminal velocity of this situation. So that's why I'm like, all right, maybe I'll be in Vienna. Maybe I'll be in SoQuel getting hypnotized or whatever the fuck's going to happen.
We often are. Make sure you guys go to Act Like You Know 26 and check out the new David Ewing Jr. videos that were being done. Raph has a preview up for the Zoroastrians and Pharaoh, which is an hour. So it's I think half or almost half of the whole thing.
A third, yeah.
A third of it. So that'll be cool. And then also the Essenes, the Essenes.
I was told I was one of
that
the
one
past
along
5.
with the Jesuits is probably
The
one of the best ones to
Essenes,
start.
but not heard. And then the Middle East is a joke. These are pretty good.
That was
So
funny.
And
The
of course,
Essenes
also
matter.
on the top,
I
go
got
on
it.
popular, on videos, popular.
fine.
Not
Oh,
the
here it is.
popular listing.
I was looking for it. Yeah.
And then just to show that, still we have Xirtus' documentation in German to anyone who hasn't seen it yet. And also David interview in German. So
You guys do so fucking much while I'm reading my Warhammer. I'm impressed.
I really like this videos in German. It makes me super happy.
That should be a t-shirt.
Was ich hypnotische Reaktionäre nenne. Ähnlich wie nach MK Ultra als Nazi-Wissenschaftler Pionier.
I can't believe they let you get away with it. God bless Germans. Like this is the first time that they've been allowed to know about what happened. Good job.
right. Yeah. It's merely a translation,
And then Jim, should I tell them where they can find your?
That's to be determined. I'm on Facebook, but god damn it, that's a dead thing. And I don't YouTube because other people told me it was less profitable to do so. So ultimately, we're in control of our bullshit. I'm sure I'll be upgrading and switching around. I saw that shit on DMT, that little portal blast off through it.
He
Play
plays
guitar.
music. You can watch him do some live card readings. He does do live card readings
blast.
sometimes. Yeah.
Every day.
Oh, he does. Okay, cool. I was worried you're like, no. But yeah, he does. He's doing.
But I have to do it in the
readings.
car because my nana's like, not in this house.
Car readings. That's hilarious. Took it to a French place.
Just right. Yeah, I just fuck around. Dude, we're on the same wave. You just are a gifted child. You are.
I love this one. This is so good.
Whatever. I don't make these. I just find them and regurgitate them, and they're all Warhammer 40K novel quotes or my friends. Basically, I don't really quote Einstein anymore. Look at that shit. That was crazy. Like that's a great clock. I can't make that. That's cool. Is AI gonna let us have this? Is it in the plan?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you can know what to ask for. See, like, I think it's a big thing AI is doing. It's like if you ask for a clock made of wood where every hand has an extra finger, it'll know to do. But if you don't know to ask for that, you won't see it. And I think that's gonna be really like interesting. People will be stuck in their own loops. Like, can you just do what that thing did that time? They're not
just
gonna be
realized
creative.
The technological Marxism that you were kind of alluding to, where what you were saying for 5 minutes that I was following, but I could not recapitulate. That is the meek inheriting the earth, and ask and you shall receive. I guess if we're getting to these strange prophetic moments where it's either
Whoops.
the real deal or not at all, and here comes the mark of the beast or whatever. But
Everything all at once, yeah.
at the same time, you guys are great. We got to fucking kick it. I mean, this is kicking it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Did you guys well, we'll talk about it in private. I was like, how was your visit? We haven't even decoupled that. I've never been like, did you guys go
super
to
great.
Austrian
Nobody
raves
died.
or what's going on?
Yeah, we're all okay.
Team Rabbit Hole. We got a podcast, of course. Team Rabbit Hole.
Yeah.
Almost 300 episodes. Fucking 2 or 3 hours like this. Long form conversations with cool people. And I only know Julia, who we had on yesterday, because of you. So
if I go to teamrabbithole.com, it's still up. Guys,
it's still up, but my God, it's a neglected child.
TeamRabbitHole.com. He's got some really great episodes, though. He's got some pretty important interviews with all sorts of people all over the world. Is every episode on Odyssey for sure? I think.
Don't even get me into this.
Yeah, pretty much. They should all be reposted. But just go on the YouTube. It's all linked through the website.
It's all through his YouTube.
Sweet.
I have nothing official. I've got to get a boat so I can float. All right, guys, I'm dipping, but it's been a pleasure, Andreas, always. And this is your show. Why am I trying to sign off?
I like it. It's good. You're good at your job. And then guys, go to Commency.at so you can check out Raf's website, which has got all the synchronicities all tied together, all in one sorted place. Super cool. Go to charternova.com. Go to the Discord. If you haven't already, go to the channel Xirtus 2 and sign up for Xirtus 2. The comment is from that channel below. Subscribe for Xirtus 2 just so we have all the backup content. You never have to worry about losing anything ever again. All right, cool. See you guys later tonight.
Thanks, guys.
For Wizzy Ultra. Peace.
Hey, everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians. Tartarian. Recent Tartarian. Recent Tartarian. Recent Tartarian. Recent Tartarian.
Hey, everybody, tune in to Recent Tartarians.
Recent Tartarians. Recent Tartarians.